break-in errors are down 63, motor vehicles down, theft. So considering your proximity to Edmonton, that's very nice to see, right? A lot of the hub communities, even the smaller hub communities, are impacted by the prolific offenders that sort of move outward. And so Nathan and his crew, with support from the resources that we provide in EAD that I'll speak to in a moment, been doing a fairly good job at getting a handle on the prolific offenders. That's going to be on the next slide. Okay, so I'm not going to read that, but basically the detachment supported by our crime reduction unit out of the district, which is 8 members, actively monitor and enforce court orders, curfews, anything where an offender is on conditions, as well as we have analysts who work to give us lists of prolific offenders, generally in relation to property, and then of course we always have the drug offenders, right? So that data informs the local detachment as well as the supporting units, who then, so we can spend our resources more wisely because we have limited resources, right? The crime reduction unit is very effective, and there's actually a second crime reduction unit based in Edmonton which supports all the districts, so it's like a force multiplier in the event we have, you know, a larger, say, well, I'll give you an example. Up in Wood Buffalo and Athabasca about 6 months ago, they were doing a warrant on a residence in Athabasca that ended up leading into a major stolen industrial property ring, generators, equipment, vehicles. We're talking $8 to $10 million that connected to a larger criminal enterprise. And then then our support units were brought in to assist with that because those large-scale investigations take significant resources as well as specialized investigative techniques, right? So that's that. So, whoa, can you go back one more? Thanks. So again, warrant executions, all the things I spoke of. Proactive traffic enforcement. So again, Nathan's crew, because you have is this my first time driving here from Edmonton? And doing so at the end of business. The traffic volume explains the situational reports I see with the number of serious accidents and fatals, right? You have a lot of traffic on your secondary highways here. And so that's where the proactive traffic enforcement by the frontline detachment members, supported by the traffic services and the sheriffs, right? They're our partners. We work with them to try to keep the speeds down and keep the driving behaviors under control, and obviously ferret out the impaired drivers. RPACT, so that is our unit that works with Alberta Health, right? It's a police officer and a psychiatric nurse usually to deal with those in mental health crisis or often co-addictions, right? They're also addicted often to hard drugs and that sort of thing. So it's a way that the police, the RCMP, as well as some of the municipal police are using to try to manage the level of social disorder that we are now required to deal with. That was not necessarily in our traditional policing model because those resources don't exist in other parts of the governmental response, right? So what this allows is it takes the pressure off the frontline members from responding to these calls, because these calls are time intensive, right? If you apprehend someone under the Mental Health Act to take them to a hospital, you're looking at hours and hours. And whereas this unit, is not a frontline member in that sense, so it doesn't impact that the same way. Plus, with the AHS employee, they get an expedited service if possible, depending on the staffing of the hospital and whatnot. Any questions around any of this? Sorry if I'm speaking too quickly. Not to. Okay, and then hotspot patrols and RAVE releases, right? So the RAVE is the system that people can join, log on to, that provides, you know, public safety information on a regular basis. I would recommend it, if you're not on it, to join it. It's very useful, especially for elected officials, right, in times of emergency, wildfire or whatnot. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the resources we can bring to bear. Next slide. Okay, so we broke out into sort of 2 different groups. One is what I have within my district that's sort of under my purview as the acting district officer. So we have the crew unit I mentioned, which is a unit that is a combination uniform, and they can also be sort of less conspicuous if they need to be. They are a bit of a Swiss Army knife for us. They can do higher level investigations, they do surveillance, they support front line in uniform sometimes. They're kind of what we need at all times. They have specialized training similar to the General Investigation Section training, as well as some other odds and ends. So very, very good unit, very impactful for communities. We also have an 8-member General Investigation Section. You would know them as detectives, right? They sit above frontline and below our like serious crime or homicide units, and they take on cases that are too complex or too large for the frontline members, right? Frontline members need to be out in the community, visible and conducting enforcement, so they will take on, you know, larger scale thefts, frauds, assaults, identity fraud, any of those sorts of types of files, right? Sex assaults that are, you know, more serious nature. They're all serious, but of a more complex nature, shall we say. They will take those on, and they are available to support any any detachment in the district. So I have 27 detachments in eastern Alberta. One is, however, Wood Buffalo or Fort McMurray, which has 200 members and is basically self-contained. And the other is Lloydminster, which is run by an inspector, which has about 60 members, is also fairly self-contained. They also have a bit of a unique contract, given the unique nature of Lloydminster. So it's a purely municipal contract. All the police officers there are paid for by the city only. So they don't work outside of the city of Lloydminster. We also offer FIS, which is IDENT or CSI, I guess is how civilians would sort of know it, right? So we have an 8-member unit in the district that supports, plus there is also the central FIS section in Edmonton, which comes out and supports as well. And there's also a unit that comes down from Grand Prairie, and we're looking at potentially, depending, they're eyeing one for potentially for Slave Lake, just as a central location. But that's just in the planning phase. I already spoke to the RPAC teams. We also have the police dog services are located in several spots throughout our district, right? They are key for supporting the front line as well as working with some of our other divisional partners. In Eastern Alberta District, we have a provincial dog in Lloyd. That's the one provincial piece there. They also have a municipal dog. We have one in St. Paul. We have one in Cold Lake. And I think that's it for EAD. And then they come out of Edmonton as well to support us, right? We also have what we call advisory NCOs. So Jeff is acting as one right now. So those are senior staff sergeants, the most senior level of non-commissioned officer. We have 6 of them. They each supervise 4 detachments. They're basically my eyes and ears. You know, they are there to support the detachment commanders, to mentor the detachment commanders, to provide guidance to the detachment commanders, and to take control of larger scale situations within their detachment areas if need be, and be the conduit to our district senior leadership team and the division, right? So ostensibly, if there was, say, a large scale event happening in Redwater, Jeff would be here to support Nathan, working through the district, through the real-time operations center to access whatever resources are needed in real time to support whatever emergency is happening. And everybody is kept in the information loop, right, continuously. So a lot of benefits there. Next slide, please. Okay, now the division. Here's the big guns, all right? So all the things that are in the district are also in the division and can be spooled up. We have our strategic communications, STRATCOMs, right? That's our media, right, to get the message out. We have major crime units. And some of these are going to be really important when Nina starts to talk about the police funding model and the Provincial Policing Services Agreement, right? Because under that agreement, you're getting a lot more than simply the 8 members in your local detachment, right? It's a package deal. Our critical incident program, which would be ERT or SWAT, right, who also come with crisis negotiators. So we have 2 teams building a third. They have 24-hour-a-day, 365 days a year coverage, and they roll to support frontline detachments all the time, right? High jeopardy events, anything with a firearm or where there's serious violence or where the offender has a history of more severe violence, or will usually attend, and they're controlled by what we call a critical incident commander. I was one for 7 years in British Columbia, who oversees everything that happens with regards to the ERT team. So they are sort of the one lone commander, right? They make the decisions. We have Real-Time Operations Center, which I already mentioned, which we will get you set up for a tour of. Indigenous Policing Services, very important. Integrated National Security Enforcement Team. So that's a federal unit, right? It's paid for completely by the federal government. That is basically counterterrorism, right? Their job is to do the very high-level international, pan-international investigations as they relate to our national security, and they work with partners like CSIS, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. We also have Operations Strategy Branch, so that's kind of the unit within the division that works most closely between commanders, district, and elected officials in communities. They're the ones who provide all the lovely statistics, right, from our analyst units. They're the ones who collate all that. They're the ones who negotiate, they're the ones that we call when we have questions about the contract, or if our communities call, they're the ones who are able to find that data, in terms of the fine detail and whatnot. You can speak more to that than I certainly can. The Tactical Support Group, TSG, that's a surge capacity tactical group. It's made up of regular members from all over every section within the division who are also receive additional training, and they're what we use to surge to respond to natural disasters, other critical incidents, those sorts of things. They're not a riot squad, right? They're additional frontline members with some extra training that we can bring in to flood a situation to ensure public safety, or do large-scale traffic control on multiple routes, right? If we need to do that, say for entry and egress from a certain zone, fire zone or whatnot, right? Evacuations, all those sorts of things, right? So we have that on tap 24/7, and there's about 170 members. Community Safety and Wellbeing Branch. So this was built in the last 5 years under the PFM. Works with community and social partners. So again, because of the changes in society over the last 15 years, police have had to adapt, right? Our mandate keeps growing because there are no other services in our society that run 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, right? Who can deal with the things that are becoming more omnipresent in society. So disorder, drug abuse, increased theft, public safety concerns on the streets, those sorts of things. And so this branch was developed, and it has nodes that work extensively with a lot of our non-policing partners, our government partners, such as Alberta Health Services. They work directly with the police oversight agencies. They work with social services. They work with child and family services, right? So they're our key connection at a high level, at a divisional level, into those ministries, so we can build and plan, set up frameworks at a high level to have protocols that will work on the ground level, so we're not scratching our heads about what to do about this new problem, to be proactive and divert resources into that. Any questions? Am I speaking too quickly?
That would be the old crime prevention.
It would be the old crime prevention times 1,000. Yeah, absolutely. Traffic services, self-explanatory. They work in tandem with the sheriffs. We're no longer integrated with the sheriffs, but we do lots of joint projects, and they have the same mandate in terms of traffic safety. Sheriffs are, however, not police officers. They are peace officers. They don't have the same level of training or the same level of responsibility that we do. So that's an important piece also when we're talking about the police funding model and the contract. Disaster Emergency Operations Center, our DEOC, so that is a hub within the headquarters. Again, it's similar to RTOC, but it's only spooled up for major natural disasters, or if you were to have like major riot events within the city center or something to that effect, right, that are going to be prolonged in duration. That center takes over, provides logistical support as well as tactical and strategic support to whatever units are involved in that. Forensic, so IDENT we spoke of. We have air services in this division, right? So we have 2 planes and a helicopter that support our operations. So if we need to, say, get ERT into Fort Chip, ERT members on the plane and they're going to Fort Chip, right? Those types of things. So really key, really important in such a large province, so geographically diverse, right? I mean, we police all the way from basically the Northwest Territories right down to the border, right? So we do everything from Sherwood Park with 200 members to Fort Chip with 9, 10 members, right? A fly-in LDP, right? Or Châté, High Prairie, High Level, right? So we provide the same services to all those locations. And then federal policing services. So these are services that are not part of the provincial police service agreement, but that constituents in Alberta still reap the benefits of, right? So that's like, pardon me, as I mentioned earlier, that's like INSET, right? The National Security Team. That's a federal unit, but there is a unit of that unit in Alberta, in Calgary and Edmonton, that provides support to Alberta, right? There are other specific federal sections, customs and excise, right? Drugs at a high level also has units within this province that provide support to both us under the contract and Edmonton City and Calgary City. We're very integrated with both of those major partners, as are our federal units, right? So that the RCMP has a presence at every level, in every province that we police, right? So again, just important to note. Next slide, please. And then these are the resources that I mentioned earlier that we work with, right? Addictions, mental health, health services, victim services society, local media, social media, housing, all of that. Just a note with regards to the changeover in the victim services in the province a year ago, that is a government initiative, not an RCMP initiative, right? We are not a partner, we're a partner, an external partner, but we are not part of the management of that. We don't write the framework for it, we don't write the procedures, right? We work with them to ensure that victims get support, and it's mandated that every district officer sits on the board for their area. So we have that high level connection, but they are autonomous. Because there's been some confusion about that. Next slide. That's it. Oh, examples, okay. So needless to say, you can read what's up there, but basically we provide additional support to Redwater on a multitude of their files, everything from their traffic fatals, where a reconstructionist will come out, a specialist who puts the accident back together and is able to provide a detailed report for court, to IRT, to IDENT, to the crew units, to the dog section, to air services, to you name it, right? All of those are available to support Redwater, and they do support Redwater 24/7, 365 days a year. Okay. Next slide. And then some specific examples, right? So Redwater is a safe community, trust me, but there are occasions where there's some higher level events. This is one of them, right? Where we put it up there to demonstrate all of our units that came in to assist with this, right? So we have an aggravated assault with a firearm. The crew unit attended to assist, the GIS unit attended to support the file to ensure that it had adequate investigators and all the right judicial authorizations, that the search warrants were written, all of that. Integrated offender management, that is a unit within CSWB, Community Safety and Wellbeing, whose job is to monitor prolific offenders who are on release or not on release, right? And to crunch the data to provide us the details we need to properly monitor and or investigate them. And then 2 dogs attended as well, right? In order to successfully and without any destruction or untoward violence, bring suspects into custody. Next slide.
That was the one that ended in a detachment parking lot.
Kind of thought.
There's some excellent video of that. Next. Yeah, so the renovations and then there are repairs being completed. That's, again, there's a federal unit, asset management, real property, that deals with all of the detachments and offices that the RCMP use and occupy. Depending on the nature of the contract, if it's a purely municipal building, a provincial building, or a federal building. Next slide. There we go. Lights out. All right, well, you've had to listen to me for 25 minutes, and now you get seasoned pro. Nina will take us into police funding model and the contract.
Any questions before maybe I talk a little bit about the police?
Through to Superintendent Hanson.
Here's one, there's more
Some
acronyms.
coming.
More acronyms, there you go. Police funding model. So I know this has been very topical. You know, prior to the police funding model, you were directly billed as a community under 5,000 for policing. And the government of Alberta made the decision that they would develop, I guess it's the police funding regulation, they would develop this funding model which would see communities contribute to the cost of policing, but allow for the RCMP to build up the provincial police service. So I'll just sort of walk through a little bit about the model, what we did with the money, and I'm happy to take questions about anything at any time. Go ahead. Thanks. So of course, we have, for contract policing, we have a couple different types of agreements that we're part of, and it's population-based. In Alberta, in all communities, if you're a community under 5,000 population, you are policed under the Provincial Police Services Agreement. If your population is between 5,000 and 15,000, actually if your population is over 5,000, you are policed under the Municipal Police Services Agreement. The PPSA, I should note, is an agreement between the Government of Alberta and the Government of Canada. The RCMP is the service provider contracted to provide policing via that. The municipal police service agreements are agreements between the municipalities and the Government of Canada. And again, the RCMP is the contract that is, or the contracted service provider for that. There's a difference between the MPSA detachment or contracts. If you have a population between 5,000 and 15,000, you pay 70% of sort of a pooled cost. So what we do is we take all the costs associated to that, to all communities in that population band, add them all together, and then there's a formula to divide those costs up sort of across all of those communities. What that does is it helps smooth the cost, because as you can imagine, 2 police cars getting crashed is a very expensive venture for a community with a relatively small tax base. So the intention of that is to smooth out the costs. If you do have a community over 15,000, you pay 90% of the costs. The federal government pays the other 10%. And again, bigger tax base, so you probably have the ability to manage through some of those challenges a little better. So go ahead. So again, the PPSA, or the PFM, it's under the PPSA, and it's specific to communities under 5,000. And it came as a result of the police funding regulation, and started in 2020. And the funding was really intended, so all the contributions that communities provide is really intended to build up the provincial police service to enhance the service provided. So what it allowed us to do, so all the funding really was towards positions. And what it allowed us to do was build our provincial police service by adding 279 positions, police officer positions, and 242 civilian support positions. So when we decided how to allocate those positions, we looked at 3 different buckets. And I know you know Curtis Zablocki, so you've heard this, right? So we really looked, and this was really Curtis Zablocki, who's now the ADM with the Government of Alberta. He was our commanding officer at the time, and he felt that, we have to ensure that we're providing that comprehensive police service. That means ensuring that we have the right number of frontline members in our communities, ensuring that we have specialized support in behind those members. A lot of that is what Tony just spoke to. And then also we need to think about those root causes of crime. So, we need to do something to actually make a difference, not just arrest, put away, like to actually stop that cycle. And that's where the community safety and well-being branch came from. So we have allocated all of those positions. I'll go through how many of them have been filled, and we continue to work on filling them. So go ahead. Thank you. So as I said, we looked at frontline policing, We looked at the specialized support units. What do those frontline members need to rely on when they need additional assistance? Whether that's the emergency response team, whether it's the forensic ident unit, special investigations like the GIS unit that Tony spoke about. We're also just adding more operators to our operation command or communication center, which is where you call when you call 911, so that we have enough people answering those calls. So those specialized support people units to support those members in the front line. And then the resources focused on addressing the root causes of crime. And again, our PACT, that partnership between a mental health practitioner and a police officer to intervene in circumstances that warrant that extra specialized response. Community engagement and community outreach. You know, if you were having a homelessness issue in your community, that group will come out, assist the detachment in getting the right partners to the table to be able to navigate that circumstance. Those kind of things.
And as an example of that, last year Slave Lake was struggling with that phenomenon, and so CSWB was instrumental in assisting the district, the town, detachment in finding a solution and working with higher levels of the provincial government to bring in the resources.
So in Eastern Alberta District, we allocated 34 regular member positions or police officer positions to the district. We also use the police funding model to allocate bodies to something called a relief team. So we know that all of our detachments from time to time have staffing shortages for whatever reason, whether we have some people away for medical reasons, whether we've got people transferred out and we don't quite have the backfill in place yet. Whatever the reason is, we have shortages from time to time. The relief unit is at the sort of hand of the district officer to be able to reach in and actually ask for additional support. It's just getting off the ground, but where it has been used, I think it's provided a lot of value from the feedback that we're getting. So we are, in fact, we talked a little bit last week about, you know, as we're looking at the model, do we need to grow that a little bit more too? Our current commanding officer will also talk a lot about sometimes, you know, people want to, some of our members want to live in bigger communities so that their spouse can also have employment and have a career. So this also provides an opportunity to have kind of a different option for staffing of detachments, shoring up resources when we need it, but it just provides another opportunity for that.
If I could just add to
Yeah,
that, so I told you I came from British Columbia, so in northern British Columbia, they've been using a relief team for about 6-7 years, and it functions extremely well for supporting the smaller detachments, such as a Redwater. It works fluidly, it's within the contract, so there's not additional costs. In fact, it saves money because you're not paying overtime, right, and you're not burning out members in other detachments who are working on their days off to come in and backfill. So it's a proven concept, yeah.
I did have a question, I guess, to bounce off of what you said there. 'Cause I did write it down. I was going to ask for like a smaller detachment like this, and you see the higher traffic, you know, like you just mentioned when you were coming in, right, or whatever. And I guess you're kind of answering to it with the relief team. But would that be something you would do to help the surge out or whatever? Like if you have, you know, however many traffic accidents in a certain spot or really close around, yeah, could you send more help just for, you know, however many months to help out, maybe patrol the areas a bit more to kind of slow people down or make them aware? Or
Yeah, and we can do that without even using that relief team, right? I can have a conversation with the officer in charge of provincial traffic and say, hey, because they're mobile, right? Can you move some of your members over? Some of the larger detachments not that far from here, Fort Saskatchewan, right? There's 60 members in that detachment. And we help supplement there. And again, that's the benefit of the whole contract, right?
makes sense, yeah, because these guys are probably busy a lot and other stuff to do on their plate, you know, so. And then just another quick question too, I guess, just looking at your funding model for like population under 5,000, it's 70-30, right? Have they ever thought about you know, for a smaller community like us, I know 5,000 will have a little bit more money than us, you know, but with 2,200 or 25, did they ever think of 60, you know, 40 or 50/50 or?
Yeah, so I can answer that a little bit. So there's something that governs policing, that you're provincial policing, and that's called the Provincial Police Services Agreement. And that was actually negotiated. It's a 20-year agreement. It was negotiated in 2012. And well, it came into effect in 2012. Negotiations started before that, but came into effect in 2012. It expires in 2032. That cost share was determined as part of that negotiation. Now, what's important to note is that cost share is how much 70% of the cost of policing is to the province of Alberta, 30% is to the government of Canada. Now, I think what you're talking about in terms of the community's cost.
Percentage we pay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that isn't necessarily associated to the police, Provincial Police Services Agreement. I actually worked in Saskatchewan for many years, and in Saskatchewan, the province there made a decision to charge communities that had a detachment a certain rate per capita, and communities that didn't have a detachment paid a different rate. In Alberta, the government of Alberta decided to create this police funding model, and the formula is quite complex, and I'm not entirely positive about it, so because it's not really mine, but that's the decision that they made to do, and how they decided to sort of charge communities. So the question would be really most appropriately asked to the province about consideration. I believe the province did a lot of engagements around the police funding model over the last number of months. RMA, AB Munis may have also provided some opportunity for you guys to have feedback about what that actually means to you in terms of the cost to your community. The RCMP's agreement doesn't have anything to do with that. We send our bill to the province of Alberta, and then what the province of Alberta collects or doesn't collect from communities is between the province of Alberta and communities. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that
It would be
clarifies
something-
that.
It would be something to inquire with them about, because in the broad sense, under this model, right, the province of Alberta receives a 30% subsidy from the government of Canada for policing services, right? So ostensibly, whatever you're being charged should only be out of that 70% that they are responsible for paying.
Yeah. Makes sense, yeah, thanks.
It's multi-tiered. You made reference to the formula that the province uses for each detachment, and we sat in, Councillor Spicer and Councillor Olson and I sat in at an event with AB Munis several years ago when they were talking about our MSI funding and what have you, and they were talking about lengths of road and how many things and everything, and your comments with respect to who has a detachment, who doesn't have a detachment, how many miles of road they're policing, number of members, their crime statistical index, CSI numbers and everything all comes into that formula. And then the province says, this is what you owe us. So,
Yeah.
but it's really complicated from our standpoint for what we have to pay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm not an expert on that. I know it is kind of complicated. I've seen the formula and it is kind of complicated. I haven't been able to follow it, right? But yeah, so, okay. So we also added, of course, civilian positions. I talked about the 242 civilian positions. You know, overall, we put 77 at detachment locations, and 20 of those came to Eastern Alberta District. So I just want to note that for you, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we, maybe the next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Talk a little bit about what went into the decision-making. How did we decide what detachment got resources or not? So what we do is we actually do a workload analysis, which takes into account a number of different factors to decide how many resources each detachment should have. What's the right number of resources? one of the things that we, the Senior Executive of Alberta, RCMP, has decided is that we wanted to have a 35% unallocated time available to our members. So that means that 35% of their time should not be just responding to calls, but it's unallocated. It's really important for people to remember that doesn't all come at once. Could be, 10 minutes here and 20 minutes there and half an hour, right? It comes in smatterings, but that was sort of the number that we tried to get all of our detachments to the same level. And so based on that, we also took into account the number of resources that you have. The formula takes into account the workload, so the crime that's happening, the crime severity, travel time. We also taken that into account, and the geography. So if you had to, travel over water or whatever, like that kind of a thing is taken into account. Your demographics and forecasted population growth. So we take those into account and decide, the formula tells us what level you're at. And I really regret that I did not get in my head what your number is, but I can follow up with you. But Redwater Detachment would have had 35% or more in terms of proactive availability, and I can absolutely make sure that your commander has that information to share with you, because that's a failing on my part to not have that with me. So that's how we decided to allocate all of the police officers. When it came to civilians in your detachments, one of the things we wanted to do was to ensure that your members aren't stuck behind their computers doing administrative work. So ensuring that we had enough civilians in the detachments to be able to assist with that. And the ratio we used to have was 4-to-1. So for every 4 regular members, we'd have 1 PSC, or civilian support. And we upped that ratio to 3-to-1. So we looked to get all of our detachments to, for every 3 regular members that you had 1 support person in place. And so I'm hoping that your ratio is right there. Of course, when things move and change, and we do this analysis every year, we also sit down. In fact, Tony and I participated in senior executive meetings last week where we sat down and asked ourselves, where do we need to adjust and move and, resources around to make sure that we're properly allocated. So we have those sort of conversations all of the time. So go ahead. That's okay. So again, we talked about those specialized units, the folks that aren't maybe in your community every day, but are there to support your regular members, to ensure your community is safe and to address anything that's going on. So that's everything from our special investigations, our IDANT, or CSI. What is that show? CSI? CSI.
That show's old now.
That just made me really nerdy. I didn't know that. But like anything like that, to the special, the SWAT team, right? The emergency response team, police dog services, and again, they are at the beck and call of your detachment if they need that additional support. They go through our talk, and that is available to them. I'll let you just maybe advance the slide. And then again, I think that both Tony and I probably touched on this, but again, the world that we're operating within has changed quite a bit, and social disorder, addictions, challenges that way have become more prominent, and we knew we had to do something. So again, we're not just seeing that revolving door of people either offending or being victimized, right? So how do we work with partners to intervene in those cases? And so the Community Safety and Wellbeing Branch was put in place to support the detachments when those issues become a challenge, or even to support detachments in preventing those things in communities. So that's what we've done with your position, with all of the positions. So I will, you can just advance it. So this is kind of where we're at with staffing. And you can see we've filled 100% of the first year. So the police funding model regulation was a 5-year regulation. The RCMP was given resources for 4 years, with the last year intended to be sort of that hold year for reassessment. They extended it 1 year because they needed an additional year. And then we'll see. They've done the engagement, and I think we'll see what happens for April 2026. But we filled all of the positions in year 1, the majority of positions in year 2, and we're getting there with the rest of them, with the rest of the years. So, and I do want to just note that what makes sense, what made sense 5 years ago, like the world is very dynamic and changing. So we're always reassessing and asking ourselves, is this still what our communities need? And so we are making some adjustments and always looking at that. So that's good. And then the last comment, sorry. The last comment I'll make is, because you sort of get the money April 1, but I can't just pull a police officer off the shelf and they start, chewing up salary dollars. So you always have like a little bit of slippage in a year. But we were and Curtis Zablocki, our former CO, and our present CO was very focused on reinvesting those funds back into things in rural Alberta. And actually, we used those funds to develop the RTOC, so the Real-Time Operations Center, develop all of that infrastructure there so that we can remotely assist in managing those crisis events. We use those funds to develop things like our past trials. So how can we better use, I made a little list, how can we better use drones, right, to assist in search and rescue, to assist, maybe we did a pilot around drones as a first responder.
So, yes, we did. And drones are in use right now throughout Eastern Alberta District. In fact, we used one 3 nights ago in Smoky Lake, a stolen vehicle and an arson and a pursuit. And they went to ground, and using a drone with infrared and the dog, we tracked them and arrested all of the suspects, right? And located evidence. Drones are a game changer. They're getting cheaper every year. The technology is improving every year. They're person portable, right? Depending on which one you buy. All the members who operate them are NAV Canada certified, right? So they basically there's now a pilot's license, so ours are all certified that way. Our ERT teams have been using them for about 10 years. When the cost was high, we were only having a few. Some of my last turns as a CIC in northern British Columbia, we had 5 different types, from ones that are this big, that are operated off a mobile phone, that we would use to go into a house and surveil, where before we would have to put a dog in, now we use the drone to locate a suspect, right? Which really, really helps improve our tactical ability to deal with that person as safely and with the least amount of violence possible, all the way up to some fairly large drones that can go to 5,000, 4,000 or 5,000 feet. Sorry. Really?
This is the proactive freight. Red mark,
39. Okay, so
39, thank you.
thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. You saved me. I'm gonna have to
I thought you were
buy
showing me
a
something with
car.
it. I was like,
I can show you a great video on that.
Yeah.
So K-Division has invested in drones and will continue to invest in drones as funds are available, but they are being utilized right now in every district.
Yeah, so that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Councillor Olson.
I have one. I don't know how much you know about the contract between the province and the feds, but
Yep.
the way I look at it is, I'm ordering as the province, I'm ordering 1,500 officers fully kitted. Now you're getting new guns, that's sidearms, you're getting you get the new cameras, and I think there was something else coming down the pipe.
Yeah. There's- yeah.
And we're hearing that we're gonna end up paying for it.
So
The way I understood it is we as the province, which rolls down
To us.
hill to us, is gonna end up paying for the new sidearms, the new cameras, and whatever else it was. And that's just the way I look at it. I mean,
yeah.
it was a federal decision to buy new sidearms. I don't know if it was a federal or provincial decision for the body cams. So, you know, like, that's the way I'm looking at it, is I ordered 1,400 officers fully kitted, and because you changed a piece of equipment that costs X amount of dollars, I won't go into that because of the fact that it was a federal contract, that the same pistol I can buy, you know, for a third the price. But, or, you know what I mean, it's a lot cheaper. But it was, and that's just, you know, I can't wrap my hand around that.
Okay, do you want to maybe talk about the pistols and
Sure.
why they need replacing?
So I guess, well, let's speak frankly. These pistols have been in service since 1996.
Just so you know, Inspector, I was in the military for 20 years. I'm shooting with my grandfather's 9mm.
Right.
You know, so.
But again, the world has changed,
Yep.
right? So we're always looking at new technologies. And, I mean, this pistol's been in development. The tender was just offered this spring, right? To be fair to the RCMP, I mean, your comment about whatever the cost was notwithstanding, you know, when you buy 22,000 guns, you tend to get a bit of a deal, right? Especially on the service end of the contract, right? So there is power in the size of the RCMP. I don't think it's unreasonable to replace a pistol after 30 years.
No,
right?
I agree, but, you know,
But,
where I'm
okay, but-
sitting.
no, fair enough, but that's the nature of the contract,
Yeah.
right? Now, the other piece of that contract is that province gets a 30% subsidy from the rest of Canada, right? So 30% of the provincial policing in this province and the municipal policing in this province is subsidized by taxpayers in other provinces.
I don't want to even go in there, Inspector. I wouldn't even touch that.
Yeah. Well,
The amount of money that's gone from Alberta to federal, I wouldn't even say.
okay, but I'm just saying that's the nature of the contract,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, it's up to Albertans as to what they wish to do, right?
Yeah.
But if you or any person in any province wishes for the police service to have the equipment, right, modern equipment or pseudo-modern equipment, then it has to be replaced at some point, right? You know, other major police services replace their pistols more often than we do. So, you know, is it an apples to apples discussion, or is it an apples to oranges discussion, right? Or is it about, you know, because
It's not about the fact that you're getting the new weapons and the new equipment, period.
Yeah,
It's the fact that, you know, I don't know, like you said, the contract's already been going for 13 years. You know, we got a few more years left in it. But when I don't know how to put it, that I'm not gonna offend anybody, but it's the fact that, like I said earlier, as the provincial government, I'm signing a contract for 14 completed officers from all ranks, you know, fully kitted, ready to go. Now, if it's not somewhere in the contract that it's, you know, we will help pay for upgrades to equipment, or we will completely pay, or the feds should completely pay, but when it comes back, by the sounds of it, it was stated, and I mean, we don't have all the facts on it either, that we would end up, as the taxpayers of Alberta would end up paying for the upgrades to the equipment. And like I said, I'm not saying anything bad about the upgrades to the equipment. Yes, you need upgrades to the equipment all the time. Like you said, they're changing daily, but it's a federal decision from headquarters in Ottawa to purchase and so on and so forth, so, but that's the whole thing between Ottawa
I
and.
think Nina has some details about the contract which might be illuminating.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say too, this would probably be a great conversation for us to have with our MLA and find out what the provincial's position is officially with respect to it.
Yeah.
That would be
Because the
a,
province did
Segue.
negotiate the contract, right?
so,
Yeah, they were told, or whatever.
yeah.
Well, somebody had to negotiate a contract between, you know,
yeah, the
federal
province.
government and the provincial government.
Yep,
that
so
were-
the
had
province
the
was at the
RCMP.
table. Yeah, so the province was at the table for the negotiation of the contract. So what I can tell you is that the contract does speak to, you know, the actual costs of policing. So not that if you upgrade or, you know, it's gonna be this stagnant number for X.
25 years,
100
years,
right?
yeah.
It does speak to the actual cost of policing. I can tell you, you're correct about body worn cameras. That was a federal decision. That said, that's also been a decision here to mandate body worn camera in Alberta.
Yeah.
Right, so that's just kind of the way the policing has gone. You know, one of the realities that the RCMP has faced is our salaries for our police officers were lagging significantly behind counterparts in other policing agencies. And we really had to bring those salaries in line with other people doing the very same job in Calgary and Edmonton and Ontario Provincial Police Service, right, in the same types of things. So there were some big inflationary factors that have risen the cost of policing. Just related to salary, some new equipment such as body worn camera. But then I'm gonna say, and I'm sure you guys are feeling this as the town also, inflation has been unbelievable in the last number of years, right? So it has gone like what we used to, you know, I don't buy a lot of Ford F-150s personally, but, you know, I've been told in 2018, you know, you could buy one for $35,000. Now the same thing is $65,000. And just like those costs have gone up tremendously, absolutely. I will say the contract does speak to the actual costs of policing, is to be shared through that proportion. So that is the detail of the contract.
And the other piece is that, you're right, the feds mandated the body-worn cameras initially, but they also provided $240 million in funding and $50 million every year thereafter, right? So it wasn't.
No, it's sort of, you'd almost like to hear it from the horse's mouth, both horses.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You know,
Musical ride.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's because, I mean, it's.
I think it's fair, right? Costs have gone up significantly, and we know that. I'm going to say, Tony sits at the senior executive. We scrutinize every expenditure, like to like exhaustion, to ensure that we're not, because it's your ratepayers who ultimately are paying these bills. And so I will say, if there's one thing that I'm proud of how our executive does focus, it's on, they really scrutinize what fleet do we need? Do we really need that? What equipment do we need? How do we roll it out? Balancing, you know, safety of our members, safety of the public, and understanding that there is a cost at the end of it to the contract partner, whoever is paying that. So it's a fair point.
Because we see it as, not from your end or anything, it's just more of, you know, you hear it in the news, it's in the news cycle, you know, they're getting the new sidearms, they're getting the new cameras, and, you know, we're paying for it.
Yeah.
Now, as the inspector just said, they paid $240 million.
Yeah.
But did they put that in general and just pass it on to us, or, you know what I mean? That's why I mean, you have the two horses in the same car.
Sides of it.
Nobody asked us.
And the one thing I can say, you know, if it gives you any level of comfort, I don't know that it does. I don't know if it's Regis Loves Company or what. But, you know, other police agencies in Alberta, I know as I'm talking to counterparts, are feeling that same unbelievable cost increase to policing. Like, it is just, policing has gone up, but I think everything has gone up. And, you know, fire has probably also experienced in that same pace of expenditure. So, yeah, your point is well taken, and I respect that you have taxpayers, right? And that's where all of these dollars land, absolutely. You know, and we're thoughtful about that, is what I would like to share.
Anything else for Superintendent Hansen or the group? Mr. Van Buel?
It's a general question about body cams. It's got nothing to do with cost. The body cams, and understanding that the RCMP have been mandated to wear, is that for all police forces in Alberta? So like the City of Edmonton, City of Calgary, Tabor, Combe,
Yes.
Camrose, et cetera, right? So that is something that the province has said, all police officers in the province of Alberta will wear body cams.
Yes.
Just a general comment as well, too, when you were talking about the PPSA and how it affects the different categories of municipalities by population. We're actually in an advantageous position with the size of our municipality, because if we were in one of those other larger groups and that big event takes place and the resources come in, there's a bill attached to those resources for those municipalities directly at that percentage level. So it becomes a very expensive scenario when you have a murder riot, some sort of situation like that, and you've got a ton of police resources responding. Whereas in this municipality, Nathan calls in the troops to help out and what have you. We do not see that bill. We don't get that extra dollars, which is important for small communities. Mr. Van Buell has a soapbox that he likes to present regularly.
Say which one's this one?
Where he tells those that are interested that a 1% tax increase for our community is $34,000. It's not multi-millions like you hear in the news from other municipalities. So, but anything else for the group? I have one other thing. Enhanced policing is not a thing that's currently active.
Yeah, so the enhanced policing positions, well, I can, so when the PFM funding came in, did you have an enhanced policing?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
And it disappeared because of that.
Yes, and yes, it did disappear. It is an option that we can have conversations with going forward. It is something we can have discussions about, but it's not definite. Yeah.
Superintendent Hansen, thank you for bringing the crew and giving us the information. It was very informative. I look forward to the tour. It's been a long time since I was on the third floor. So, I do want to make mention of something totally different and off the books, and I apologize to council for doing this, but we have a Citizens on Patrol group here in town. And they're fairly active. They try and help out Nathan and the boys as much as they can. But recently, they had the provincial workshop and AGM here in Redwater. Had well over, I think, 112 COP members from across the province. The steering committee had set up a bunch of things in play, and due to circumstances, the last minute it got changed. And Riker showed up from the detachment as the master of ceremonies and the general go-to guy to try and fill in any of the blanks that popped and what have you. He did a phenomenal job. For a young member who doesn't have a lot of experience at meeting the public and talking to them, I've had nothing but good comments from every member of the COP group with respect to him. So from council, please thank him for the work that he put into that. I know Nathan has received the same accolades with respect to how he helped out and that sort of thing. So please, thank you very much for having that type of a resource available to a small community.
For a guy who said he never presented or spoke in public before, she knocked it out of the park. Phenomenal.
He's been provided positive feedback, written feedback that stays on his record for some time. So he was very thankful for that.
Like I say, I didn't want to Shanghai the presentation, but that was really important to see that in a small community.
Phenomenal. Thank you very much for letting us know.
Okay. Anything else for? No? Thank you very much for coming, Superintendent Hansen. Our door is always open, so you're more than welcome anytime.
There may be a few different faces.
Shen, anytime, yes.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks very much for having me.
Take care, be safe. Okay.
Great to meet you.
Get up
Thank you.
We put in our,
Oh, good, yeah. Thanks
thanks,
so
dear.
much. Yeah, take care.
I've been watching.
Thank you.
Maybe
Yeah,
for your
thanks.
job, just thinking
Take
about
care.
it.
Thanks. See you soon.
You bet.
For all the info.
Thank
you.
Oh, I know, but the deal with that contract
Very much for good.
with finances, period.
It helps us.
Council, I'll look for a motion to adjourn for a short recess, 10 minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you.
I know.
Carried. like to reconvene our meeting and move to agenda item 8.1, reserve policy. And I believe, Ms. Tingley, we're in your hands for that.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So, this has been a conversation that we've had several times over the last couple of years, updating this policy and finding the right direction for it. So, this policy was brought to the Corporate Services Policy Committee on August 6th, 2025, to discuss some proposed updates. So the policy hasn't been updated since September 1st, 2015. Since then, there's been several organizational changes that need to be reflected in terms of job titles, in addition to updating to our new policy format. So you'll see in the two attachments, we have the old policy in the old format and then the new policy format, which those on the committee will be familiar with because we reviewed those back in August. I'm going to highlight some of the changes as follows in the discussion. So we have the addition of the utility capital, sorry, not the addition. We made some changes to the utility capital infrastructure charge. So just a minor change in the wording with this policy. Previously, the monthly charge was transferred to utility reserves upon collection. So this has been updated to the specific reserve account to which it's going to be transferred to, the general utility reserve, to align with the reserve continuity spreadsheet, just for more transparency as we go through the budget process. So the reference to the policy 502 has now been updated to just the fees and charges bylaw, so it's not something we have to update as we make charges to that, or sorry, changes. Next is the utility infrastructure reinvestment rider. So if you'll recall, this was added to the 2024 budget with the inclusion on the utility bills that same year. So the policy will include the transfer of this reinvestment rider to the water and sewer reserve account, the capital upgrades upon monthly collection. And it's in the same manner, I apologize for the spelling mistake, same manner as the utility capital infrastructure charge outlined above. And again, with the referencing of the fees and charges bylaw, so we don't have to make that change every single time we change that bylaw as we do with the budget process. Moving on to the tech reserve. So this is the annual transfer of $35,000 to this reserve. So this began in our budget 2023, and we've done it the last 23, 24, 25, and hopefully the inclusion in 26. So this is going to capture both operating and capital expenses as they relate to technology upgrades. This will help to normalize those costs as technology is increasing in cost, and it's something that we can't cut. So just a great way to normalize that. It's just some significant things coming up. We have the end of life for Diamond GP, our data management system, that's coming in September 30th, 2020. So that's hopefully going to help offset some of the costs of that as we build up that reserve. Council election reserve. So as you know, election year is this year. Typically, we budget for council election expenses in the year that the election occurs. So the intent of this reserve will be to establish, starting in 2026, transfer 25% of the cost of the previous elections, the election this year, with an inflationary factor over the next 4 years to offset the cost of the election. So this is going to include not only the election day expenses, but the council training and orientation costs, branded clothing, technology, and any additional onboarding expenses. The next is the Reimagine Redwater Reserve. So this was a name that was discussed at the committee level. This is the annual reserve transfer for the revenue generated from the business licenses to cover future economic development initiatives, including but not limited to the Reimagine Redwater Grant Program. So the reserve account is set up with a minimum and a maximum to allow for at least one grant application annually to a maximum of 10 up to 5,000 per grant limit. Next is the General Building Maintenance Reserve. So this is an annual transfer of the rental revenue from the leased building, less the expenses incurred to operate that building. And this is going to be set aside to fund future operating and capital expenditures for municipal buildings, specifically the town hall, the leased building, and the fire hall. So there's no ceiling for this account, and it's to help offset non-routine maintenance in addition to significant capital upgrades as the funds are available. And the last one that we're going to talk about is the Council Scholarship Fund. So this is funded out of the proceeds of the mayor's annual golf tournament, and it's to be awarded per the council's direction. The intent is for the minimum balance of $2,000 to allow for an extra award if 2 prospective applicants meet the requirements as set out by council. This will be transferred each year out of the tournament proceeds, and will be dependent on the transfer each year will be dependent on the balance in the account each year. So if we've reached the maximum, the transfer will not occur. So financial implications, increase in reserve balance to fund future capital and operating expenditures, and some internal impacts. So updating the policy will allow for more transparent and clear processing of the reserve transfers each year, and allow for the budget process in relation to these reserve transfers to be more consistent and strategic year over year. Externally, increased transparency surrounding the reserve transfers annually and the intention behind the transfers, apparent to the public, the taxpayers. And that concludes my RFD.
Very much. Councillor Olson.
I would like to make the motion, scroll back up here. Make the motion to bring the reserve policy 322.02 with updates as discussed to the regular council meeting for approval.
Thank you. Discussion by council. This was at the last committee meeting, I believe, for corporate services. Was the general roundtable discussion. Not seeing any comment from council, I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. 8.2, revised snow clearing policy. Mr. Davison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'll start off just reading through the RFD and then we'll go through some of the other pieces here. So obviously the purpose of the RFD is to seek council direction for administration to move forward with the revised snow clearing policy 405-06 to a regular council meeting for consideration of adoption or as presented or as revised by committee. Our recommendation, that Committee of the Whole direct administration to bring policy 405.06 forward to a regular council meeting for consideration of adoption, incorporating any committee revisions. Background, as we know, the policy was first originally approved in October 6 of 1998. It's had a number of changes since that point, and the most recent being September 2023. At the May 12, 2025 Infrastructure Policy Committee meeting, recommendations and updates were drafted to improve readability and structure, to clarify signage, towing and weekend operations, and to incorporate sightline controls consistent with the land use bylaw. Moving on to the discussion. Now this was in the old template when I took it over, which is why you don't have a roughed up copy, because it would look like an absolute mess. So what I did was I transferred it across to the new template. When I transferred it across, we had to add some sections. I'll go on to that in a couple of minutes here, but just so you're aware. The conversion to the new template created a new structure, clearer headings, scope, definitions, responsibilities, and guiding principles were added. Clarifies snowfall event sequencing, 24-hour signage, and the priority one on the weekend. Also formalizes alley approach and exceptions. Obviously, our approved alley P3 alleys that were discussed in the infrastructure committee meeting were added to the schedule, which you'll see in a minute. And on top of that, we added the sideline protection to fall in line with our land use policy. Yeah. Bylaw, sorry. As far as financial implications go, no new budget requests. Work proceeds within the approved operations budget. There's no additional staffing or FTE implications. Internal impacts, update winter operations, SOPs and staff briefings to reflect clarified sequencing and alley exceptions. Corporate services to follow the approved policy once approved by council. As far as external impacts go, improved clarity for residents and priorities, timelines and parking requirements during snow events, and sideline provisions, reduce corner visibility hazards and improve pedestrian and driver safety. In relation to relevant legislation, obviously you see the list there. There's a few of them that we went over, and in reference to the community communication plan, if it's approved, will be to publish approved policy and maps, being the schedules, and on the town website before the winter season, and we'll do a bunch of pre-season seasonal advertisements online as well. Now I will move on to the policy. I will say before we finish and take any questions here, under 6.2 I did catch a typo. It says 10 centimeters instead of 5. I have caught that. I didn't be on that, sir. So I've got that one. And the other piece we do want to talk about is the service target for completion is minimum 4 days. Just wondering if council wants to make that into the word maximum, or how you'd like to approach that, or whether minimum sits well with council.
If I could, so, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is something that we took a look at, and it's been there for a while. But if you think about our target of a minimum of 4 days, that's kind of the minimum standard. The maximum standard is July. And so, here's the, and Garnet and I have had a fairly robust discussion about this. Here's the advantages and the disadvantage. When you start talking about a maximum target, you set yourself up for, what if we don't make it in 4 days? Right? What happens if a piece of equipment breaks down? What happens if you get another snowfall? What happens if you get a number of different things? So that's the downfall. But the other side of this is when you don't set some type of a quote, and I'll use this term, realistic target, you run the risk of losing your policy defense should there be a what do I call it? Some type of an incident where somebody decides to take legal action against you. The argument being that if the minimum is 4 and the maximum is whatever, is it really a policy or is it something that administration gets to decide at that point in time? So it's kind of, it was kind of the sober second look. And this is one of the ones that council really has to think about before they say yes or no to the policy. So, and rather than us come forward and say, here, this is, and there's also a number of different ways you can do it. You can say your target date is X, and let's just say, your target date is 4 days with a maximum of, and you might throw something out with a maximum of 10 days or 12 days or 14 days, which gives you that leeway, if you want to use that term, if a snowblower breaks down, if you lose your grader, if you whatever.
Waterline breaks. good.
Waterline breaks and and your crews get cut in half, whatever that means. So those are some of the options that you might want to think about and how do you want to address that. And again, as Mr. Davison said, it's gone through a number of iterations, and it wasn't until we read it this time. Is that minimum? Is that maximum? Is that target date? What is that?
If I may, I would suggest a range. That would be my solution to it, would be put a minimum and a maximum to it. And that just gives you a little bit of flexibility and gives people a expectation on what would be normal and what would be abnormal, I guess, would be the answer to that. So.
And by doing that, sorry, Mr. Mayor, jump in here. By doing that, one of the things that we would do administratively, and this helps us with our report back to our public as well, to say, in the year 2025-26 snow year, we had 7 snow events that triggered the policy to happen for removal. And of the 7 times, 5 times we were in this range, and 2 times we didn't make it, and here's why. Because what it does is it shows that you're trying to do it, whether you're hitting it or not, and the reasons why you didn't hit it. You had breakdown, you had this, you had that, which is also a backup if somebody comes back and says, well, you haven't hit your policy target for 5 years. You miss it twice well, yes, our target is 4 days, but we do hit that maximum of 10 days, right? And so we're hitting our target date 5 times out of 7. So that's kind of where we're at with just that one piece.
We didn't make a motion yet. Oh.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
I'll make the motion that Council direct administration to bring policy 405.06 snow clearing policy to regular council meeting, incorporating any revisions arising from committee discussions prior to presentation to council. So,
So we have,
we'll skip that question. Yeah. There's one I think you should change, and that's with that one on the Schedule A, snow removal priority. That back alley for the those condos or whatever you want to call them behind Connie's place. You have just the back alley for the east-west, but it doesn't connect them to the street either direction. And normally they come in off the highway, and year after year there was vehicles stuck there because of how it was cleared, right? And that's not that's the highway thing. That's another issue, but we need to give them a way to get out of there.
So just to clarify, so we're talking about the, just east of 40, what is that?
This,
This one right
That
here.
one right
Yeah,
there, yeah.
Yeah.
We should give
So
them,
just add it.
add that to one way or the other.
North or south
Yeah, we
of-
gotta get them off that. It's great if you clear the back alley, but if they can't get to the street, it's no good to them.
in the same venue, I'd like to suggest that all of those green alleys, with the exception of the one in the Willows, completely within the Willows, but those green alleys, I think they should become red.
Yeah, we just did, to be honest, we just did that to change so they were seen as P3 approved alleys. And that just gives that delineation. And that way if someone's looking at the map, it just shows they can identify them, generally speaking. But certainly we can change it to red if you'd like.
They still become priority, right?
The same priority.
That's the same as the reds, but
Priority that way. And the reason I suggest that is because, looking at the map, you're gonna have equipment in there to do the red lane things anyway. And we've been told clearly that those alleys are bad news, and they don't have another access. So that's why I suggest it bumps up to a red, but that's just my.
Yeah, it's still still a 3. So when you look at the priorities on Schedule A, you'll see number 1's yellow, number 2's red, number 3 is residential, clear, and number 3 is the approved alleys. But, sorry, that should be,
That's what I'm saying. It moves it from a level 3 to a level 2.
yeah, just, I guess the big thing for us is when we were talking about it in the committee, they did refer to it as getting done at the same time as the streets get done, as in the residential streets. You would like that to move up to the same point as the
emergency.
the access routes?
Yes, the red category, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's priority 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I say, the only reason for it is we know it's a bad area. Getting in and out of it is also bad, but the equipment is there to do the other streets that are right beside it, so.
Just for the sake of devil's advocate, Mr. Mayor, what I don't want to do is have those as a higher priority than our residential streets, because then our residents have a right to say, well, how come there's 4 back alleys that get done before my street gets done? Because effectively that makes it the same access as a street, if you get what I'm saying.
Understanding that that back alley is those residences' access.
Yes.
And the streets might not necessarily be.
The streets aren't.
Yeah.
That's why we added them to the same priority as the residential streets.
And I just say, that's just my.
Yeah,
I'm not-
I'm happy to take whatever the feedback is from council and make that but
Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you. That would be different equipment too, I would say. Majority of the time, it's the grader that's out doing the red priorities. And you may not take the grader down that alley. Because
generally speaking.
that would be Bobcat pushing.
Yeah, so it would either be the Bobcat or the blower, but you might run the grader down there every 3rd or 4th snowfall just to just in case that accumulation gets too high,
Yeah,
and obviously to bring it down for the melt. But I'm happy to do whatever council's direction is. I just want to put it out there.
Go ahead, Councilor Butcher.
Well, with it being in my area, I've noticed over the winter's time, a lot of the renters, they park their vehicles on the street.
Yep.
Because
you
they
know,
can't.
because they don't want it, so.
Yep.
And then when we put up our signs to move vehicles, we go around with the grader a lot, so. But it's a catch-22 on this one.
Yeah.
Because it's a two-sided.
100%. And I just want to make the distinction for council. Those alleys have moved from a priority number 5 to a priority number 3.
Yeah,
So
and
they've
that's,
jumped up 2. And that's kind of what I want to highlight, is that it now gets done at the same time as everyone else's access, which is their residential street. So that's what we came out of the committee understanding. I just want to make sure that if we're going to bump it up another one, we discuss it or something.
I don't have a problem with that. Go ahead, Councilor Olson.
Have we talked to Ledcor? Are they coming through town this year? Because we may not have to worry about snow piles at the end of the highway, or at the end of the alleys on the highway, because they normally don't come through town. They pick up the mow board at the hospital and they drop it at LTD.
We will most certainly be having a conversation.
Just wondering, because I mean, that could alleviate that snow pile at the end of the driveway, you know, at the end of the alleyways.
Just to add to that, we did have a very successful meeting with them earlier this year because Minister Nally
Yes.
pushed some buttons and got a multiple person conversation going. So I would assume, based on the conversation we had at that time, both Mr. Davison and Mr. Van Buell have a direct phone number now that they can discuss that situation with, so.
Sorry, I also just wanted to highlight the primary, I know we went to motion, but I just wanted to highlight the primary changes in the document. Obviously, we had the scope, the definitions, the guiding principles, 6.6, the exceptions to the policy, which is the, if you flip over to the next page, which is the alleys that we're referring to, and then the sightlines, which is 6.10. Do we have any questions on sightlines at all?
I just know, like, at the multiplex, sorry, Pembina Place there in the school corner there, we pile a lot there, and it's great. I don't mind, we keep it, the sight lines fairly good, but if you have a truck, it's great. If you have a car, it's a whole nother story. So I think we really got to work on that one and make sure. So we got to take that into consideration, what kind of vehicle. It's easy for one of our guys to be driving around in their truck and go, oh, it's fine. Right, so.
And that's why we've made the regulation now just a metre high for the piling. Outside of that, there's a couple of issues around town that we identified through winter that were, there's a reason why we want to put this in. But yeah, so if you ever need to see a diagram or anything, let me know. I think there is one in the land use bylaw, if I remember correctly. Not of the laneway. There's only the road corners, which is the 6 metre, 6 metre, not the 1 metre, 1 metre. But if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. Outside of that is the major changes to it. So, and if you could keep up with my detailed change log, well done.
I like it.
It'd be nice to.
I've seen more of this, and I like it when because some of these policies are so.
I just didn't want to have two different templates sitting beside each other that were just completely different. So I thought if I list this out and you get a good look at it, you can see that it changed bullet points to alphanumeric and just did those little things. So hopefully it made it a little bit easier to follow on. Some of them are a little bit shaky, but
Some of them, like when you get the ones with the
minus and the bullet.
minus and the bullets, and it's like trying to read it, and it's like, now you lost what year.
Go ahead, Councilor Spicer.
Even if they're similar templates, it's nice to have that log rather than having to read line for line and this has been moved here, this is moved there.
Sure. Yeah.
So I like it.
So the motion on the table is to bring this forward to council meeting. Go ahead.
We had amendments.
We haven't discussed the minimum, maximum.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet. So I just want to make it clear that my comment with respect to the alley, I'm not suggesting is a change or anything to that policy. It was just something I observed. I wasn't asking.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. No offense taken and none offered. We can always. It was revised in '23. We can always revise it next year if we need to as well. So.
Okay. And now we want to move through to the question of how you would like it worded to make sense to you and to us as far as our support and legal requirements, so. Go ahead.
I like the idea, can we use, rather than minimum, maximum, that, I like the idea that you said a target date of 4 days. That's our target, but I would say like a 10-day window,
Yeah.
A maximum of 10 days.
maximum of 10 days. That's your target, like it's still.
Yeah, I feel 10 days is too big, actually. if I'm
I
being
think
honest.
so too.
But, you know, if I was to say where I would be comfortable, I'd be comfortable with a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 10. So target of 7, not 10.
4 and 10.
Yeah, it just gives you that little bit of flexibility, but open to your feelings, and ultimately yours will dictate.
I'm happy with 4 to 7 too.
4 to 7 is good.
Yeah, I think the reality too is small tagline that suggests unless extraneous circumstance, because you can have 25 centimeter snowfall and you can have a 10 centimeter snowfall and the impact is huge.
Absolutely.
You know, people don't understand that it's just a
25 centimeter snowfall, throw in a water main break,
Yeah.
you know?
Equipment breakdowns, any number.
I think that target date language is a good idea, and some sort of qualifier that says unless the world stops turning and we fall off.
Force majeure clause.
And 4 and 7. I'm
4
good
and
with
7,
that.
I am.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
4 and 7 on this side of the table?
And then, sorry, and we want that one alley, I can't read this
Well,
because,
just the
Yeah.
It's down beside Napa.
north, south in it, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
north-south in there, that's,
Napa.
gotta give them access to, even if we cleaned it, we gotta give them access.
Okay.
But the pile will only be a meter high.
Syndicate make it.
Yeah. At the end of that alley.
So the revisions will be the alley designation there on that north-south piece, and the language of 4 to 7. Anything else from council?
No.
Yes?
I did notice the thing, that you're doing the south side of 48th Ave, 38 now for the sidewalk?
Yep.
We were doing the north side, so we flipped over to do the south side as well. Okay. Because we do have that little bit of a boulevard there on the residentials.
Yeah, we'll get them sorted out.
Yeah. Just, I guess to sort of let them know.
Right. Not seeing anything else from council? I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We have got reports under section 9. The agenda, we've got the admin briefing from the Land Use Economic Development. Any questions from council on that?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'll just highlight a few things on here. As Ms. Lane is at a conference this week, so I think the big ones are new local storefront businesses. There's 7 since the last report. So our business license totals at 130. Trina's been extremely busy in the liaison and external meetings. Trying to get some development opportunities more concrete. And that shows up later on in her report. During the month of August, there was, I know she's got 2 here, but I know she had more than 2 pre-development meetings with different things that are in the works. One that council saw in a closed session, and that is proceeding. Not quickly, but it is moving forward on that. She's done a lot of work over the summer on the NRED grant. Unfortunately, the revamp of our website, we were advised to take that out of the NRED grant application as it was too broad and it wasn't economic development focused enough. So the microsite, we're gonna leave in for right now. So that did bring the cost down a little bit, or our expected cost down on that project. It's good news, but on the cost side, but we do have some work to do on our municipal website. Other than that, there's a couple, again, year-to-date, there's a couple of the confidential proposals, and if you want to ask me questions when we go into closed session, I'd be more than happy to answer those as we go forward. And then MPC interviews and the MPC orientation, so our MPC, Municipal Planning Commission, is at full staff, which is good news. And I do know that I signed, I think, the first check requisition for the Reimagine Redwater. Work was done. I think the total cost was just about $15,000, of which we provided a grant of $5,000. Other than that, any questions, I'll answer what I can, or we'll get back to you with what I can.
Anything from council? Straightforward. Corporate Services Admin Briefing.
Mayor, members of council. So we'll start with assessment and taxation. From July to August of this year, we saw a decrease in the 2023 and 2024 tax arrears. Still no movement in the 2022. And for 2025, it's just the monthly PAP and people paying off those balances. All current tax agreements are currently being adhered to. We have 3 in total. One property remains on tax notification. That auction date is set for November 18th. Of the 16 properties put on tax notification this year, up for auction next year, 7 remain unpaid. One of those has a tax agreement in place, so the other 6 will be contacting them to try and get an agreement in place or find some sort of resolve ahead of the auction next year. So something significant of note, on August 21st, we received a reassessment revision for a significant commercial property. So the revision was based on Tanmar Consulting's review of fair market value against the purchase price and appraisal, and it resulted in a decreased assessment value of just over $1 million. So I've broken down the impact in terms of municipal taxation, the school requisition, and the total requisition, and then the total reduction. So municipal taxation was $13,347, the school requisition at $4,309, seniors requisition at $990. So total just under $17,800. I will be contacting Municipal Affairs to look at our options for recovery of that school requisition to see if there's anything available. Because as you know, with our tax presentation, we have the assessment, but the outlay is always the same. So we have no offsetting revenue now for that $4,300. And ahead of our tax rate bylaw conversations next year, this may impact our review of the res and non-residential. It's been at 63 and 37% since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So just with that impact on that assessment class alone, it may be worth revisiting that just to see how that impacts overall mill rates. But again, we will talk about that several months from now, but I just wanted to kind of start the conversations now. Moving on to utilities. Arrears in September 10th was down from the previous month, warmer months, less gas costs. There were no 48-hour notices or shutoffs as we had an unexpected staff absence during that time. So residents got a little bit of a break there. Just some general utility updates. Working with utilities team to change out the aging water and gas meters. So gas meter changeouts from July-September 19th, 71. Year to date is 132, so it's a very busy summer. Water meter changeouts from July to at the time of the report was 15, and year to date was 70. So we're seeing a lot of those aging meters. We're starting to change them out. You'll see that cost on the expenses side under the June financials. Water meters, we had $18,000 in water ERTs and meters that were purchased for those replacements. So I kind of skimmed over the banking balances. If you have any questions, let me know. You'll see
Just want to go back to the general utilities updates there.
Yeah.
Do we have how many that we'd like to do each year? how much that balance, like, how much we've budgeted for to have changed out?
I don't have that readily available, but that is something that I can include for.
That would be, like you said, we did 71, and so over the year, we've done 71 out of 130 that we plan to do over the year. That'd be just an interesting piece of information to know.
No, absolutely.
5 or 7 years they gotta be taken on recalibrated?
7.
So and
So
you're
you've
looking at-
calculated them.
Yeah, you're looking at, we'll say roughly 1,000 meters.
Yeah, the issue is that historically, they haven't kept a log.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of start from scratch.
You're
But we
budgeting
are-
though,
we
that
are
you
building
change
it.
100 a year, or whatever you're budgeting. It'd be nice to see where we're at in that budget.
It is in our budget lines right now.
Yeah.
I have that detail.
Yeah, but it'd just be nice to see it in your report.
Well, and ironically, we went over it this morning too, and we were looking at it, but we.
Yeah, we told you how many we changed out. We didn't tell you how many we budgeted. I can actually add that to my report moving forward if you'd like.
That would be great.
That's not an issue. We have the data, so
Yeah.
there's something off your table there.
Absolutely. And, I'd like to note too that they're not always planned change outs too, obviously. But it's something we were talking about today during our utilities budget discussions for 26. If you'll recall during like the reserve, like some of our reserve discussions too, and like normalizing those costs of those like meter replacements as well. So that's something we're working into the budget and maybe looking at like 3, 5, 10-year plans depending on what information we have available right now because it wasn't always recorded. So we can absolutely include that in our reports going forward. Thank you so much for that recommendation. I won't get too much into the June or July financials unless there's something like very specific. I will highlight that revenue in July, planning and development had $18,100 in permits and applications. We saw, so the taxation penalty for July 1st, there was a decrease compared to 2024. If you recall, we received a significant payment in our arrears taxes of $315,000, which I've included in the for a closed session. I have a really exciting update on that, hopefully. So special events revenue for Pembina, we got $26,500. Really great month for Pembina. It's busy as we go into the fall. The pool too, we saw a lot of activity in the pool. So for the entire season, we're sitting at $47,800. This is outside of the report of July I looked at as of the day of the report. This compares to $42,800 in 2024. So we're seeing an improvement in the pool. So it's really great to see. Okay, moving on to capital, I highlighted just a couple projects that were completed that were kind of like low-hanging fruit as I was completing this, but I will provide a comprehensive capital project update during the October 7th meeting. But streets, we have the purchase of the Tenco Sander, like through the July financial statements. Water, we have a $206,000 cost incurred for the 52nd Ave project, $8,900 for pre-engineering for 47th Ave, $4,000 distribution pump replacement project, just costs incurred during that month for these projects. Big one here, Pembina, $277,500. That's that roof replacement project. Moving on to budget. Really riveting topics tonight. So our departmental budget meetings kicked off on September 8th. We're in the early stages of developing the draft capital budget and 10-year capital plan. Proposed budget completion date, we're hoping for October 31st, then beginning with the presentation development for the following 2 weeks ahead of the first meeting on November 18th. As you will know, this is an election year, so the nomination period ended yesterday at noon. So at the time of the report, which still stands today, we received notice of intent forms for 1 candidate for mayor and 7 candidates for councillors. So we have posted the names of all of the candidates on our website as well as on social media. And we've submitted the notice for the election as well, that is up. So there is campaign disclosure statements for January 1st to July 31st that are due on September 30th. So I will be emailing all candidates details of this disclosure requirement. I'll be contacting you all personally so that we can kind of discuss it and kind of go from there. Give you an opportunity to ask any questions about it.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yes, I'll call you tomorrow. So other, as I mentioned, Gulf Side accounts receivable updates, that's gonna be a closed session item. I completed ICS 400 on September 16th and 17th, so if something really big happens in the province, I will maybe not, absolutely not be called. So really exciting this month. Jen Beezer was asked to participate in a peer audit by AMSHA as part of her auditor certification. So in order to keep her certification as the National Health and Safety Administrator, she must perform 3 audits over a 4-year cycle. So these audits must be conducted with core certified municipalities or companies. So the peer audits work on like a reciprocal system that allows other municipalities to have an audit completed at a reduced cost. So when we're ready for an external core audit, we will request an auditor through the peer audit program. So the only cost that we will incur will be the mileage in hotels if needed and food over the course of the audit. So when she participates in this audit, they'll be covering her accommodations and her food. We will still be paying her wages during that time. And then reciprocal program, so when we want to get our audit done, we'll do the same for that municipality. So it's really exciting. Upcoming, Liz and Pam headed off to Calgary today for the Alberta Municipal Taxation Professionals Association Conference. So that'll be through till Friday, so they'll come back with some really great information regarding taxation. October 7th, going to be also including the mid-year commentary and ideally some more updated financial statements so we can bring it to current. I'll be attending the Director of Emergency Management course on October 16th. Been a really long journey to kind of get all those certifications to be the Deputy DEM, so I appreciate everyone's patience for that. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have an election October 20th. And we're also working on the budget. So that concludes my report.
Anything from Ms. Tingley? I just have a question on the on your attachment, your summary of financials.
Absolutely.
First of all, I make a habit of going back a year to check to see what the numbers look like, and actually this year we're $100,000 better than we were last year in receivables, so that's good. But I noticed the format changed, and the percentage of variance is no longer in the form. It's
my inability to use the manager report.
Okay.
It is not user-friendly, and so it's not showing us a percentage, it's just showing us zeros. And no matter what I do in Excel to try and report them, I cannot make it work.
And that's fine. The ability to look at it line by line and go through is fine. It's just the percentage column was a good check. You could go down and you could see, oh, I'm 70% here, 70%. Oh, I'm 130% here. What's caused the difference? But don't get excited. I'm not worried about it.
It's a really easy inclusion for this front page. It's when I go through all the other pages for all the other departments to add it, but it's a simple formula. I can just drag it through this, so I will include it for the next one. Absolutely. I wasn't sure if anyone used it.
I just noticed it.
I liked it.
Yeah. Okay. Operations admin briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I see Ms. Tingley took a page from my book and using a lot of humour now. But no, well done, mate. Good report. So I'm just going to go through this. Is a big report, and there's a few attachments. I'm happy to talk about them, but I'm going to highlight some stuff as I go through. In reference to project updates, I'm only going to talk about the stuff that is currently outstanding. You can see the complete list there. It's looking pretty good, even though there is a couple of others. In relation to the reservoir building pump replacement, we've had a pre-construction meeting held, and we are expecting our slab to be laid here pretty shortly. On top of that, they will start the install of some of the electrical and the hookups, the transfer switch, and our 2 VFDs that are coming along as part of this project. On top of that, the only thing we're waiting on is a generator, but I figure I can get this all laced up, ready to drop a generator in, and maybe it'll be seamless. But you know, at the end of the day, where electrical's concerned, it just sometimes is not. But we will do our best to make sure that it is as seamless as possible. On top of that, the Stipp Bridge rehab, you may have heard, tender award letter has gone out. We do have a company lined up. I did see 2 to 3 days ago the one calls go through, so I'm assuming they are starting very shortly. I just got their WCB clearance letters and things along those lines today, the copies of their insurance, et cetera, et cetera. So we now have those to go along with the award. I'm expecting a schedule to be coming out pretty shortly, so I'll keep you updated as soon as I know. As well, hopefully you're aware. You took my report forward in the last council meeting, so you are aware that they only have a specific time frame they can actually get this done with all the exclusions to the waterways, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully they will get going right away here, and then we can
migration.
get it finished off. Yeah, 100%. Those little buggers, fish-bearing streams.
Skinny leg green frog.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the bylaw stats. You saw the July 2025 there, the violation breakdown. Total of 21, 9 unkept grass, 7 unsightlies, barking dogs, dog defecation 3, and traffic safety violations of 2. Our new bylaw officer has been doing a pretty stellar job so far. We're hoping he continues on, and we'll have lots for him to do. August 2025, summary of violation breakdowns, total of 12, unkept grass 4, 7 unsightly properties, and 1 excessive dog barking. Of note with these is pretty simply that we did get compliance on all of them, so it's fantastic. So far, everyone is receiving it very well. He hasn't had any issues dealing with anyone, which is fantastic. It means people are either he's talking correctly or people are more accommodating. So whichever one it is, we are happy. Outside of that, we'll go on to operations, public works. I won't go through the repairs and maintenance there, but you can see it included the Kubota tractor, the Cat 140 grader, the S76 backhoe, and some general repairs on trucks. Obviously, the lift truck, we had a little bit of an issue with a latch on the bucket there. The plow truck had a little bit of work, not just a little. It got sanded down and repainted in the back end, so it looks very nice at the moment. Hopefully that will remain. It's difficult when you're dealing with salt and sand, but hopefully that'll remain. We do want to do some work on the box in the coming season, but for the moment, everything's up and running. The Tenco sander was placed in. It is functioning the way it should, and we're looking forward to seeing that on the street, actually. I'm looking forward to seeing the improvement in the amount that is thrown down.
We're not.
I certainly am.
Do it in the yard then.
What's that?
Do it in the yard. Just for
We're going to throw it everywhere. But so the JD 1435 mower and the steel weed whips had a little bit of work done to them. Usually just general maintenance. A lot of this is general maintenance, which is good. But there's a couple of little things here and there. You saw this some chute repairs to the snowblower, things along those lines. It cracked at the neck ring, so a few little repairs there. I'll move on and not hang around on that too much. We did have Peachtree Care come in and completed a 2-day campaign for stump grinding. I know, Councillor Spicer, you'd mentioned that earlier on in the season. And we're in the number of 30 stumps. Price wasn't too bad. We got a bunch of them done. Actually, I believe we got them all except maybe the little pine tree by the pump jack at the corner there near Burger Baron. But outside of that, I think we captured all of them. It worked out pretty well for us. That's something that we'll be running a little more consistently. Outside of that, repaired fence at the cemetery. We had a tree that fell down, caught top rail there and bent it, so we had that fixed. Ongoing cleaning of the shop yard. I don't know if anyone's been out there. It's really looking pretty nice out there. Very happy with how it's coming together. We've also added a little bit of security there by putting an extra gate on the sides to prevent people from getting around the back unauthorized, which has worked out pretty well. We've done a great job putting all that together, which is fantastic. Installation of new secondary power to the fence. As you know, we had that the new gate put in. It's on a clicker, works well, and is doing the job at the moment. The biggest problem we face is remembering to click the button when we go out. When you spend a lot of years with swing gates and they stay open, you have a tendency to drive out and not think about it. But we've got to get on the whole, hit the clicker and get it shut behind you. But outside of that's fantastic. Public works staff removed the old chain link fence from the west side of the yard, and we also installed a gate just beyond the new fencing for them to get into the lagoon area there and trim around the lagoons, the aerated lagoons there, ponds. We also had a 1 cube, seen here is 1,000 litres, but it's a cube, rubberized crack filler that came in. And hopefully you noticed the boys did a lot of work around town, crack sealing, evidence is right out front there. Also around the fire hall, they sealed all the pavement around the edges of the fire hall to water seal that a little better. They did a lot of work on the key cuts around town, where Rogers had come in and put those key cuts in for their pull boxes, for their cables. We crack sealed around each of those so we don't wind up separating our good road. Due to key cuts, they have a habit of coming apart and sinking, but that should prevent that at least for a few years. And obviously we'll be doing this year over year over year. It was a little bit of a learning curve for our guys. They haven't done that before, so I think they did a great job for a first go around, and it's a difficult thing to work with. It takes a little bit of getting used to the stickiness of that stuff and just moving it around. Especially when you see guys doing it with hot crack seal and you're out there using the cold stuff, but at the end of the day it works the same. Completion of 2 pothole campaigns around town, so one early in the season, one later in the season. Believe it or not, we went through 20 barrels of cold mix. There's a lot of potholes that got filled this season. And last year was a good starting point. This year they really went at it, and it shows. There's a lot of material around. You'll see 44th Street has a lot of material on it. It was in pretty bad shape. It's not perfect. We do want to overlay that street soon. May as well call it a road, really. But at the end of the day, main entrance to the industrial park there. So that is something for the future. But in the meantime, we've got it to a position where it won't rattle your teeth out, and it's pretty well sealed. So. Moving on, assisted the Art Society with the mural on the building here. That, as you know, it's a fantastic looking mural. They did a great job. Sidewalk grinding completed through town. You'll see the report on that. We're very happy with how that worked out, and happy with the amount that we got achieved for the dollars we put into it. I think that's great. Outside of that, hand dug and exposed a couple of sanitary lines and effluent lines, in the golf course for utilities to repair. Installed an overflow culvert at the industrial lagoons. So when you might remember the tour we did where we went to the upper lagoons, the industrial lagoons. There was a lot of reeds in there, and it was in pretty bad shape. The beavers got stuck into it in spring, and I mean they went to town in there. And so what we did was we got the boys out there with the equipment, and they put a new layer around there so we can actually fit a full vehicle on top between the lagoons, and we pulled all the reeds, so it looks a lot better. I'll get to it later on in the report as well. A couple of other pieces out there. Assisted with the Big Ben event again, which went off really well. I wasn't very happy with where we wound up having to put that, but we had a wedding, so we had to move it. And it made it a little bit difficult to move around in there. We will not be putting it there again. We will be blacking out that weekend, so we can't have a wedding there, generally speaking. They had a lot of people coming to the wedding, and they asked if we would not put the bins there, and I thought, well, that's a fair enough request. If it was my wedding, I'd probably say the same thing. But at the end of the day, it went around the side in the rear parking lot. We had to move the skate park, but a little bit of it anyway. But at the end of the day, it made it a little bit more difficult than I wanted it to be. One of the other big things that came out of that was the cost was substantially larger. I guess one of the things we will have to do next year, but we'll talk to council about this before we take anything forward, obviously. There were trailer loads coming from outside of town. And we knew this was going to become an issue because word spreads pretty fast when you got something like that going on, and people are like, ooh, they've just got big, massive bins there, and we can just go chuck our stuff in. So at the end of the day, I don't know how we're going to control that, but at some point we're probably going to have to look at it.
Town bill.
Correct. Something along those lines. So we'll have to come up with a little bit of a plan. I'm sure we can manage it. But
the county to be part of it, pay part of it.
And that's the other thing is we could approach them and ask them to dual advertise, and away we go, right? It's just we had a lot of extra stuff coming in this year in comparison to the year before, and I should get a total on their bins. I do have it. I just didn't put it in this report. I apologize. But the amount of bins hauled out in comparison to last year was significantly greater. So Yeah. Outside of that, installed a new handicap sign at the Legion and at the ATB. Everyone knows the sidewalk job that was done there. It looks fantastic. We have reached out to them and spoken to them to have a meeting. I would like to run a paver sidewalk campaign, much like we do with our sidewalk replacement. Our pavers are probably in worse shape than a lot of our sidewalks currently. So, you know, it'll be something that comes up in budget. I actually shouldn't probably be talking about this, but at the end of the day, for the sake of transparency, I think at the end of the day, we might look at adjusting some numbers on how we're going to use our capital moving forward, and perhaps using a portion of that money to cover off our paver sidewalks, because frankly, the job they did was fantastic, and they do it for a number of other communities. So something to look forward to, something we'll be discussing in budget undoubtedly. So
Just on that piece, if I could, Garnet. And Garnet mentioned the whole grinding piece that we did this year. We probably reduced, I'm gonna get this number wrong because it was too long ago when we talked about it, but we probably reduced our cost of replacing that same amount of sidewalk that we ended up using the grinding program on by about $60,000 to $70,000. So it's a substantial amount of money, and taking those dollars and being able to send them further and include the whole sidewalk pavers is probably something that we're gonna, well, not probably, it is something that we're putting into the budget, into the capital.
yeah, just to clarify, we did not reduce it by $60,000 to $70,000. We will not be reducing it by $60,000 to $70,000.
No,
But
that's what we
long-term
saved.
savings, I know.
That's what we saved. If we would have replaced that same amount of sidewalk that we did on grinding, we would have spent an extra $60,000.
We would have, absolutely. It, I was having a bit of a joke at you there, boss. But at the end of the day, yeah, the sidewalk grinding campaign will certainly, in select areas, will certainly save us a fair amount of money, without a doubt. Between the couple of little pilots we ran this year, between the paving stones, the grinding, those sorts of things, I mean, you saw the report, it's pretty significant. There's lots of areas where otherwise we might replace that we probably can just as easily grind and save ourselves a fair amount of money. So something that we'll again be talking about in budget. So yeah. Outside of that, does everyone remember the wood pile out by the industrial lagoons? We called it a wood pile. It actually wasn't a wood pile, but it was a pile. It is now gone, completely gone. We hauled it all away. When we did haul that away, we did try to clean up some of the ground there, because we're going to haul in a bit of clay to make it firmer so we can use that area. We found some old infrastructure from well before my time. Maybe someone knows this, but we found a couple of vaults out there that were used for a previous system out there. We are not going to pull them out. We are going to fill them, and we are going to cover them as they were. But they had a casing on top and nothing in them, so we will be filling them to make them a little bit safer, and you will probably never see them again. But I hope to never see them again. Outside of that, it was one of those moments where my heart beat a little bit faster for about half a day. So you know, when you uncover something like that and you don't know the history of it or where it goes or what it's connected to, it starts to give you some palpitations. Yeah, what it may still be connected to, but we double checked it. We had a good look at it, and we reached out to a couple of people in the community that had a little bit of further history back than I or anyone at Public Works does. So we've been confirmed that it's an old system that is no longer there and is abandoned. So we covered it in, and we'll never see it again. Outside of that, trim back tree branches in the alleyways by the daycare. Temporary repairs with angle iron on the catch basins, actually one here and one by the dentist. Ms. Tingley actually pointed those out to us. They had a couple of pieces missing that someone could have probably got a leg down there. So what we're going to do is set a red balloon out there, just like it. No joking. We will obviously repair them next year as part of our concrete repair.
I just got that one.
Yeah. So it would be fun for the kids, but we will not do that. Outside of that, responding to service requests, we had plenty of them this summer. It was a big year for service requests. There were a lot of them coming through. The boys did a great job of staying on top of them. We actually used our millings from 64th Street to overlay the yard. The millings that are produced from that milling of 64th Street aren't of the consistency of the stuff we order. There's lots of big chunks, not the sort of stuff you want to put on your back alley because it'll chunk up and then clump together. But we used it out of the yard. It'll give us a little bit of dust control and start firming up the base out there. So it has kind of twofold effect for us, which is good. Saved us a little bit of money by reusing. Completed backfilling, landscaping and seeding around the concrete sidewalk replacement pieces there. Used about 10.5 yards of topsoil. Lifted 2 sidewalk locations with the backhoe and packed sand under, one at Poplar Park. So funny story, depending on how you look at it, I think it's funny. But when O'Hanlon came in to replace a couple of slabs of concrete leading into Poplar Park off 64th there, they must have noticed that the sidewalk continues on, and they probably thought they were doing us a favor, and they slid along the concrete and completely uncovered it all. But the concrete does a curve, so this is side view obviously. The concrete sidewalk goes like that and then it drops off. And they decided to take all the soil off the top and uncover our beautiful sidewalk, left us with a lip about that big at the end of it. So your sidewalk was great, it's going to hold a bunch of water and someone's going to trip over it. So we got the boys in there and they landscaped it out a little bit and lifted a couple of the concrete slabs because they weren't separate sidewalk, just had the crack line. And so they lifted it, put a little bit of material underneath them and landscaped around the side and then sodded it. It looks fantastic. Actually did a really good job there. So really good job by the boys and solved that issue for us. But yeah, I mean, they went the extra mile, but it cost us a little bit.
By chance, did we get any residents thanking us for how good it looks there?
We actually did.
Okay.
We did.
Just checking.
Yeah, I'll forward that email on to you.
Just checking.
We certainly did. It was good. Outside of that, to be honest, we have received a little bit of feedback this year. It's been good. We always receive a little bit of negative feedback, but this year we received some positive stuff, which is fantastic for myself and the boys. It's always good to hear when something works out well. Outside of that, completed backfilling and landscaping. Nope, I've lost my spot here. No, I'll pull it back up. Removing vegetation from pavement throughout town. So we're doing a little bit of an assessment on this. We are going to run a couple of trials. I want to start using a tiger torch on the sidewalks around town. A lot of communities do it. It's easy enough to do. Strap a propane tank in the back and get yourself a trigger tiger torch, not just your valve tiger torch, but the trigger version. And by burning the leaves, it kills the plant. So it's just as effective as anything else. As soon as we start talking about weed spraying, we get a little bit of feedback. So we're looking at some other options, because weed whipping, obviously, all you do is cut the top off and then the root's still there. It just grows back within a week or week and a half. And if you use a tiger torch, it kills them right down through the root.
I think I'm going to try that at home.
It works really well.
Yeah, my whole sidewalk, it's like a little forest there.
Yeah, tiger torch it works fantastic.
Vinegar related.
Yeah. It's vinegar and Dawn dish soap, from what I've been told. It works really well as well. But I don't know if I want to buy that much Dawn dish soap. So
As soon as they see town employees spraying something, the phone will be ringing off the hook.
Oh yeah, it does every year.
Yeah.
So to be honest, if anyone's listening, you do have to spray the sand in the parks. We will try burning it, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Burning it will work. It's just a little less friendly, I guess. But the big point for us is that when you spray it with weed spray, it starts wilting in a couple of days and it's gone. And it's an important piece of what we need to do. So if you're listening, please understand. Outside of that, ongoing removal of the beaver dam on Range Road 220. He keeps giving us problems, that little fella there, and he keeps coming back. It's probably not him, but they're one by one moving into the area. So we'll one by one remove them. We've been in communication with Sturgeon County for sand and salt procurement for the 2025-26 season. We will have sand and salt arriving mid to late October. I'm hoping we don't get an early snowfall. We have a little bit still there in inventory. It will get us through. Outside of that, I'll move on to utilities. To your point, Councillor Spicer, 53 gas meters changed out in June 12th to September 15th. I don't have the data on what that looked like as compared to budget, but I will get it for you. Outside of that, leak on the high pressure inlet gate station repairs were done. The welder repaired the leak, and hot work permits, et cetera, were done for those, which is fantastic. Cruiser removed the riser in the ditch at Days Inn. You'll see in the line walking report that was where one of our leaks were. It was found and repaired. We actually abandoned that riser and just removed it down. It saved us a lot in reference to having to dig and do a line stop there, which would have been much more expensive. So it was a much more cheap alternative. Good job for Chris and John coming up with that. It's fantastic. A second small gas leak located by the leak detectors was repaired behind Kinsman Park, and a corroded service line with a small pinhole was found as well. Cathodic survey and leak detection completed. Report attached, not for the cathodic survey, but for the leak detection. I can always provide the cathodic survey report next year if you would like. Outside of that, I will put it in. Regulating Station 5 was recently visited, so we have two regulating stations that are on our maps, but a little bit forgotten from time to time. Out at Royal Redwater, anyone knows where that is? Yeah, it's a famous area landmark. Out there is actually 2 gas risers and 2 regulating stations. They were unmarked and had some trees growing around them, so we got that all cleaned up right now, and we'll be marking them for the future. So a little bit of work to do there. They had a little bit of maintenance to be done on them as well, but not as big as the other regulating stations in town, but regulating stations nonetheless. Outside of that, water 15 metres replaced June 12th to September 15th, more to be booked in and changed. Hydrant flushing has been completed. We did have 4 hydrants failed testing. The internals are being ordered for replacement. We still have a couple of a project to do. We're hoping it gets done very early October for 2 hydrants to be completely replaced in town. One in the industrial area and one over on the west end. So we're marching along with those as well. Leak detection by EnviroTrace was completed. That report is attached as well. I'm happy to answer any questions on the reports. We can go through them if you'd like, or I'll just stop at the end of my report because it is long. And if you're bored or otherwise, we can skip it, but I'm happy to talk about it. Engine 2 is now back online, which is fantastic. Water valve marking program is ongoing. You have those issues every now and then. Every time we put a stake in, someone removes it. So it's going to be a little bit of an ongoing battle until people get used to seeing them. Otherwise, I'm going to put steel ones in, and they'll be a little harder to pull. So outside of that, we'll move on to wastewater. 23 sewer backup calls year to date, 9 CCTV inspections year to date, which just went up. We just completed another couple. 18 sewer augers year to date. New airs and blower has been commissioned and placed into service, which is fantastic. Industrial Park Lagoon Rehab that I spoke to earlier. Okay, I'll move on to Pembina Place. Jeremy completed OHS training for our boiler officer. He's getting quite proficient at going through the OHS system and getting people on board. We did add no trespassing climbing signs to the air handling units outside Pembina Place. Ongoing issue there, obviously, people climbing. The Bobcat came out and repaired the, we'll call it the backup beeper because I have no idea what you would otherwise call it. But the little thing goes beep beep when you put it in reverse. Outside of that, staff completed sanding and painting in the stands of the arena, so we painted it up again this year. We're just waiting for our seating to come in, and as soon as that's in, we'll have a whole bunch of seating in there for people, which will make it a little bit more comfortable for the winter. New dashboard was installed near the entrance to the ice surface because it cracked. Johnson Controls came out and changed a couple of faulty sensors on the double doors at the front and checked all our batteries in our security system. New toilet was installed in the lobby's men's room. And here's a big one. Through AARFP, Jeremy completed his custodial course. He's now 2 one-day courses away from achieving his Recreation Facility Master Operator Certificate, which is fantastic. He's a very dedicated individual, does a great job over there, and we're very happy to have him on board. He is also our certified Canadian Playground Inspector, so he has a few things that are quite valuable to us, which we're very appreciative of. StarTech completed repairs on the ice plant, including replacing some packing and ready rod with parts that were the correct spec for the system. We have found a couple of faults. LiveBarn was installed. If anyone doesn't know what LiveBarn is, it's pretty popular around Alberta and many other places. It's basically a camera system that records anyone who's on the ice that wants to be recorded. We can black it out, we can open it. We obviously don't do it for anything else other than if we have permission from the hockey groups. But a lot of people, when we had the provincials here, asked if we had LiveBarn, because Grandma and Grandpa want to watch little Johnny on the ice, and LiveBarn allows them to do that with a subscription. It's also handy for coaches because they get to review the training footage or the game footage, and they seem to be really big on it. So when we reached out and asked anyone if they would like it, there was a resounding yes. So it costs us nothing, by the way, and we do get a cut of any subscriptions that come through of it that we promote. So while it doesn't cost us anything, we have the ability to maybe collect a little bit from it, as small as that may be.
That's something we should talk to let the school know about, because when they have provincials or any of the big games for volleyball, basketball, and that's a big thing. If they can get it for nothing, and coaches are tapping into it.
Yeah, LiveBarn's a fantastic thing. It's primarily for hockey at the moment, but I'm sure they're open to so many other things. But yeah, it's kind of a good deal, and a lot of people have it. We will be advertising that we have it. It'll be up on our website, that sort of stuff, so people will know. So, okay, moving on. Staff removed 40 plus pucks from the low E ceiling. I thought I'd talk about that one because it's kind of a funny one. But it's kind of cool. 40.
Funny how they get up there.
Oh yeah,
Find a way.
just the right angle at the right time, and off she goes. The staff toured the building with a representative from Prince Langevin and Associates. They do cameras, so we're just getting a couple of quotes to see what that would look like. Don't know what we're going to do with that after we get them. Arena floor was scrubbed multiple times before the ice plant went in. It's the usual process: cool it down, put your white paint down, seal it in, keep going, layer upon layer, put your lines in, away you go, seal them in as well. StarTech returned to the ice plant during startup. They found an ammonia leak. Basically, it was in a gasket between two flanges. There was a rubber gasket in there. I've asked StarTech to follow up on that and put it through their quality management team. We want to know if that was the right gasket material or not. We replaced it with a squishable steel gasket, obviously, and we'll look forward to seeing their response on whether that rubber gasket was the correct gasket or not. We'll see. Glycol leak was detected in the ice plant, and we got it repaired by StarTech. Nothing big, just a simple glycol leak. Vibration analysis was conducted of the compressors in the ice plant. No issues, which is fantastic because it's the last thing you want, having problems with vibration analysis. Those things are not cheap. Cultural Center, it says see report attached. I actually didn't attach it, I apologize, but I can get those numbers out for anyone that wants it. The report was a little bit garbled and I found it hard to understand, so I didn't want to put it in front of you either. Fieldhouse, open daily for pickleball through the summer. It was fantastic, pretty, I know the few times I was in there, it was pretty loud. And obviously it was open daily, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Arena lobby had the crafting group every Monday, and indoor walking will be commencing soon as well. Ice rentals, nothing to include. I'll include that in September's report because it wasn't in yet. Parks and beautification, so community garden plots were again fully subscribed. Should I tell the funny story about our community garden? Yeah. we did find a rogue plant. African tomato, I believe. So it was an interesting find. It was removed, of course, and the owner's welcome to come and see me about it. But yeah, it was a good one. We thank whoever did that. Tree post label project was conducted in the Arboretum. So what we did was to replace the smaller tree posts that were in there with the labels on there, we put a steel base with a 4x4 top on it, and they'll hold up to the weed whips and anything else we can throw at it pretty much. And they look pretty good too, not gonna lie. Jeremy did his research on his CCPI, as I mentioned, his playground inspector course. New picnic tables were purchased, installed, and stained in Centennial, Smalley, and Poplar Parks. And a garbage can was added to the Sandy dump. We noticed a lot of discarded rubber gloves and things along those lines over there. That may be a future project. But at the moment, we just put a bin in there to clean it up a little bit. Ultra Pest Control came back and did a second round of gopher control in the Arboretum and to the north of Fast Gas. It's actually been surprisingly successful. It didn't start off that way. After the first round, I was pretty disappointed, pretty upset, and voiced my opinion and concerns. They came back and did a second round free of charge and seemed to do a pretty reasonable job on the second go around. They've since come back and done a third. Obviously, these are smoke bombs. We're not allowed to poison them anymore. But at the end of the day, it's a lot better than what it was. It's not perfect by any means. The only way we will get that perfect, if I'm to be completely and utterly honest, is if we poison them. But outside of that, it's likely going to be an ongoing issue for us. We'll see how we go.
The other issue is not doing the fast gas side of that too, because I went by there today and there was a couple of them running around.
Yeah, and they're gonna run over there and hang out, and then they're gonna come back, right? And so we're gonna reach out to Fast Gas and see what we can do there, because it'd be nice to get their property done as well. So.
And just to add to that conversation, Mr. Van Buell and myself had a spirited conversation with our CN rep, and with respect to what could be done around the tracks and what have you. And I met with her at the AIHA event the other night, and she unbelievably is still working on the problem Canada-wide. They've had a number of inquiries from other municipalities, so they're trying to come up with something to help.
We're actually somewhat hopeful that they have different rules to us, because technically the Arboretum says. So maybe, you never know. Yeah. But, the last thing I want is the CN police raining down on me over there at the Arboretum. So we'll go with it for a while and go from there. Outside of that, trees were pruned in Cooks, McDonald, and Petone Park. And, we also did the cemetery with the smoke bombs. Installed a new swing at Kinsman Park. The other had broken. No biggie, simple, small one. Moving on to the pool. Swimming lessons. Sorry.
If I could, just your comment, you repaired a broken door on the kiosk across from Burger Baron. Door was unable to close correctly. What kiosk?
Yeah, so I have a problem with their use of that word as well, but that's what everyone's referred to them as. The black triangular things with the doors that open.
The
information area.
Information things.
Yeah, the ladies call them a kiosk. I didn't change it.
Okay. I was trying to.
I was thinking about that too.
We don't have a bathroom there. Okay, no, that makes sense.
I'm just not going to argue with them. It's a kiosk.
That's fine.
And no, they do a great job. Actually, they do a really good job. Onto the pool. Pool swimming lessons were a huge success in the 2025 season. Youth swimming lessons had 196 registered throughout the summer, bringing in just shy of 11K in lessons revenue. And our preschool swimming lessons had 58 children registered, bringing in just shy of 3.5K. So, I mean, the pool did really well this year. We're really happy with what happened. At the end of the day, obviously, some environmental factors were in play. We didn't have as much smoke this year. Thanks to not as many fires, which is fantastic. And for the most part, we had very cooperative weather. But in relation to breakdowns, we had very, very minimal breakdowns. And if I remember correctly, it might even be written in here, most of the close downs were a result of a contamination piece.
Go ahead, Councillor Butcher.
Sorry, Connie.
Well, when I was reading this, I smiled. To have that pool being used the way it is, and with Alexa,
yeah,
coming up with the idea of the lights,
yep.
That brought back memories, because we used to have midnight swim there, which is another area of program for youth and adults too. I think they did a fantastic job.
So do I. I think they did a great job this summer. I do agree. She came up with a fantastic idea. I take zero zero praise for the pool. The pool was managed between Jeremy and Charity and Alexa, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. Both on the financial side and on the operations side, and then just in general in managing it. Alexa had a couple of really good ideas. Obviously, I don't know the history of the pool. Apparently, yep, they used to have night swims, so she said, "Can we do night swims?" So we got some lights repaired, and off they went, and they were a big success. So at the end of the day, they did a fantastic job. The pool really operated very well this year. We did do a pump replacement there, which I do think did help. Outside of that, and we've ordered a secondary or alternate baby pool pump as well that is now sitting on the shelf in case we have an issue with that pump as well. So we're a little bit ahead of the ball game. You will see some items in budget in relation to the pool because we're trying to get ahead of that, but some of that comes with a big cost, and at the end of the day we might look towards gathering some money from that from our recreation grants and things along those lines, our matching capital. So keep an eye out for that in the budget, but it probably won't be 2026 at this point. 2026 at this point. Throughout the summer, multiple repairs required on the change stalls, so the kiddies like to swing on them. I get it, there's no playground in there, so they find the next best thing, and it's the doors in the change room. It is what it is. It does happen. They try to stay on top of it.
Can you go with curtains?
Yeah, you probably could. After having doors there, we might get a little bit of resistance, but I agree. There's other options for sure. So.
I mean, if we're having to repair them regularly.
Yeah, it seems to be an ongoing thing, and unfortunately, the hinges on them aren't cheap these days.
You'd still end up replacing the curtains quite often, but
They're a lot cheaper.
less.
Yeah.
100% agree. Yeah, so that's a fair idea, boss.
Like at Pembina Place, I notice in the men's room there, you've gone to 8-gauge steel angle iron holding the dividers on the wall.
Absolutely.
And you can't understand why somebody would go in there and rip a divider off the wall, for what reason, sort of thing. So, if you have a cheaper alternative, it might.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We went to prison grade in Pembina Place. And it worked out pretty well for us. I think we've only had one booted off the wall, but at the end of the day, it worked out well for us. Obviously, we can't do that on the hinges, but certainly curtains are a good idea. We'll definitely keep that in mind, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
the only negative is you still have that bar up there, and somebody's going to hang off of it. There's always they'll find something. But
Yeah, there's absolutely something that's always going to occur.
You could make
60 curtains up through the year.
Yeah, that's right.
6 one, half dozen the other.
Absolutely, yeah. It's an ongoing issue, but certainly that's something that we'll probably give some very serious thought to. So, thank you, sir. Outside of that, Automated Aquatics came in, did the annual winterization, which is fantastic. Pool closures were minimal throughout the summer, as I alluded to earlier. It's fantastic. The majority of the pool closures were contamination related. On to facilities, we had Buffalo Heating inspected, did some maintenance on the boiler at the fire hall, which is fantastic. They also completed some maintenance and work on the RTUs on Building 13. The campground, again, I said see report, but I did not include the report because it had people's names and things along those lines. It was a little bit hard to read, so I am going to get that corrected for the next report. I got a little bit of feedback for the ladies, but I will say this. As of the middle of August, they were already at 2.3K in the campground, and the budget was 2.5. So given how busy it was in September, we're probably going to blow that number out of the water, which is fantastic. For the second year running, it just keeps going up. If you didn't notice, the boys did take the Harley rake through there. It looked fantastic after they did it. Probably should take a sprayer to it afterwards, or the Tiger Torch, and just clean it up, the weeds a little bit. But certainly helped, and a lot of the campers were pretty happy with it as well. Outside of that, there was some picnic table refurbishments going on in there. They did 4 tables this year, so it's a pretty good job. Community services, summer home alone safety course, 16 registered as full. Babysitting course, 12 registered full. 541 registrations in summer programs, and to compare that, we had 199 in 2024. So the ladies did some fantastic programming there. Our summer program students did fantastic. The ladies did fantastic. It was a good turnout. Fall home alone safety course being offered again due to popularity. Junior life-saving course is going to be offered for anyone as a pre-course for first aid. And here's a new one with a partnership with MW Financial. We are offering 4 financial workshops at zero cost for the community, and we're seeing registrations for this as well, which I think is a fantastic ad for us. It really is. There's a lot of people in the community that could benefit from some of the information that's going to come out in this, especially seniors, that sort of stuff. I think it's a great initiative. I really like this one. Learn to Skate Level 1 is full. Thank you, Allegra. Tools for School was utilised by 22 kids this year versus 14 last year, so another improvement there. Actually, I don't know if you call that an improvement or not, but it's great to see it being utilised really well. Outside of that, events, golf tournament was another huge success, which we're aware of. School kids Meet the Community Night, September 3rd, was well attended with less people recorded, and this was primarily because we didn't have it held at the school. So obviously we didn't have the teachers and the kids. But some of the feedback was good, some of it was not so good, so we'll keep an ear low on that one for future. But I think, to be honest, I would continue with how we ran it this year, if I'm to be really honest.
Go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
We used to have one similar, but we held it in May.
Yeah.
Sort of the same idea, had it in April, May. It was more to, I guess it was more to get the budget out there,
Right.
you know, and stuff like that. And, you know, what projects and stuff. But I like it like that. I mean, I just found Ochre Park crowded,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
It was way easier in there.
Yeah. I mean, we stuffed in the corner, you know, 6 or 8 of us trying to get rid of roast beef sandwiches and everything else. And
Yeah, to be honest, I liked the format, and I liked where it was. We did toss up the idea of doing 2. I just don't know if we have that uptake for it, but we could certainly look at changing when we hold it now that it's been moved away a little bit. But we're always open to the community's feedback. Absolutely open to hearing what they have to say, and if they prefer it over there, then we'll always switch it back. But as I said, at the moment, as far as negative feedback goes, there wasn't a lot of it. So,
Go ahead, Mr. Van Buell.
Yeah, I don't think this comment is the be-all and end-all, but in talking to the staff and that were there, you know, how did it go? You like this? One of the comments that the staff brought back was the logistics of holding it at Pembina Place, at the cultural center, is just way easier because they don't have to transport tables, chairs.
Yeah.
Like, all of those logistics of setting up and tearing down are much easier at Pembina Place.
Yeah.
Councillor
And I understand that part of it. The only thing missing in this is that connection to the community. And that
schools.
night, when everybody was coming to do the interviews with the teachers, they came in and we had that connection for our groups that had come and set up their tables and that. That's the piece that's missing. And having it at Pembina, we missed that a little bit. Like, not terribly, like there was a good turnout still, but that's just that little.
yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I do see that side of it for sure. I'm just hoping in the future we can encourage that little bit of a follow through, but we're always open to move.
And I think Ochre Park, they had missed that too, and so there were some barriers and some upset there, and then a combination of things. I think there was a lot of people not understanding what the whole purpose was initially of having it over there. So
Yeah, so on the flip side to that was some of the other feedback we got where people were saying, you know, when I've come to the school, it was more about going to speak to the teachers, and it was more about the teachers. I didn't realize all these groups existed because we had them all laid out pretty well.
Thing, right?
Yeah, and I agree. I see it from both sides, absolutely, and I do agree with you on your point as well. So.
Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
I thought from doing it every year and giving out the beef on the bun and logistically, like you said, from where we had it, way easier at Pembina Place. Like just in even communicating and there was more room and we didn't have to use the crock pot or whatever it was to heat it up. Everything was there because we kept it in the ovens. We had the ice cream in the freezers. Ken had it in the coolers, giving it out. It was just a ton more room, and I found it way easier. You know, having it in the building.
Yeah, we'll probably.
It was more spread out. Everybody was, you know, yeah.
We'll probably advertise a little heavier next time, but I would like to see it in the coming year remain there and just see what sort of feedback we get in a second year. Because the first one's a little bit of a shock to the system. Some people used to it, some people not. You know, a little bit of miscommunication. People have had expectations of Oka Park, so we'll give it a shot a second time and see how we go. And if it doesn't work, then certainly we're open to moving it around. Not an issue at all. Okay, so I'll continue on. FCSS community info and referrals. No surprises here. Lots of referrals this month for food insecurities to the food bank, as well as lots of inquiries about subsidies. The food bank is something we are going to have to talk about in budget. I think it's something we all need to talk about, and not in relation to their space. It's fantastic and how everything is operating in there, but they're getting pretty hammered. And in relation to the amount of people that are coming through their doors, and I'm sure financially it is something we probably need to look at and maybe talk to our partnering communities in relation to Sturgeon and Thorhild in particular. The numbers at the food bank are, the demographic and the breakup of the numbers from communities is pretty wild. And I think that's something that Susan should probably come and present at some point. I'd like to see it. I'd even be happy to do it on her behalf if she doesn't want to. But the numbers are staggering. So it's a conversation that I think needs to be had in the future. Just putting it out there. Didn't mean to side log that. Grants, sponsorship, and other sponsorships for the golf tournament were fantastic. $25,700. It's a fantastic event and it's run very well. I sent a logo sponsorships from Pamela again, $1,500, and free shinny skating through from Pamela as well is fantastic again this year. Outside of that, that is my really, really long report. Hopefully didn't put you all to sleep. If you want to talk about any of these reports, I am very happy to do so. But yeah, let me know.
Mr. Mayor, just before we leave this report, something that Mr. Davison glossed over, and I think I want to highlight it, and that is, you remember earlier this spring, we notified council that Alberta Occupational Health and Safety was going around and they were auditing different municipalities on their programs, etc. I just want to give a great big shout out to our Joint Occupation Health and Safety Committee under the guidance of Mr. Davison in the last 2-3 years, and the strides that we've made in our OH&S program. As it says there, we came through with a clean bill of health from everything that came through that. And the amount of work that the Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committee has done, Mr. Davidson has done, and now we're going to transition that in a little bit different way and have Jen lead that program for us. But it's quite frankly, it's light years ahead of where it was 3 years ago, and that, again, that is in great part to the leadership that Mr. Davidson has given that community.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, boss. I can't take all the accolades there. Miranda is probably a 50% shareholder in that. At the end of the day, she puts together all the agendas and a lot of the paperwork and a lot of the ideas. So by all means, Miranda is a big piece of that. The OH&S piece is not finished. It can still run right through to February of next year. We will see her back, I'm sure, but we have not seen anything from her yet. I'm assuming some other municipalities are keeping them busy, but which I am
Try not to.
very happy for. Outside of that, yeah, we may see some feedback at some point for that. I'm sure we might see them through the winter, having a look at our operations, having a look at our SOPs, that sort of stuff. But at the moment, we're in a good spot. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for the additional reports you put on there. I can honestly say in 7 years on council, I've never seen anything like this from the leak detectors and that sort of thing. Have you, Councillor Olson? No. Councillor Butcher? Yeah, no, that kind of information is...
It's precious to us.
Yeah, and when we have people talking to us on the street and they start talking hooey, whatever you want to call it, we say, well, hang on, did you know that we do this? And I've seen the reports, so this is what actually happens with your gas system, with your water system, that sort of thing. So thank you for those reports. I thought they were a great addition to the agenda. So.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ware. We are going to try and run more of these. The objective here is to be as completely transparent as we can be. I want to tell you we're doing something and we're doing it. I want to talk about something and show you it. You know what I mean? That's the goal, really. At the end of the day, we really want to push this point across. The EnviroTrace, the grinding, those sorts of things. We want to start doing this with our trees. We want to start doing this again. You'll have the cathodic protection survey next year. So most of the reporting we get through the year, I want to run through council so you can see it, familiarize yourself with it. It doesn't just educate me, it educates you. When you're asking questions in the future, you've got a little bit more ammunition to shoot me with, and we'll go from there. Because at the end of the day, not all the reports are going to be shiny. They really aren't, and there'll be ones that come through that we'll be unhappy about. I'm absolutely positive of that. But at the end of the day, what I don't want to do is show you a shiny face and have a really bad report in the back cupboard. I'd rather have a bad report up front and have you aware of it. And the piece of being aware of it is that you're also aware of the problems that we're aware of, and that helps both of us when it comes to budgeting and when it comes to running the town's operations. Because at the end of the day, if I know I've got a lot of problems and you don't know I've got a lot of problems and we're not communicating and being transparent about that, then we don't get them fixed, and the community doesn't understand what those problems are. So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. Look for a motion from council to accept the administrative briefings. Councilor Butcher, thank you. Discussion? Not seeing, I call that question. All in favor? That's carried. 9.2, I believe, is you, Councilor Olson.
Great. So I emailed everybody copies of and it's here as well, the report from the Alberta Sky Hubs. This is my next subject. And everything. This is all from the hub on Friday. So, has everybody got one there? Yep.
Thank you, Mike.
If you want to click on the impact report, go to page 23. There's a map there of the northeast portion of the province. And that's the one, the big one that they're really going on. Wednesday night, tomorrow night, actually. They're doing a live demonstration. It's departing the school in Andrew. It's going to land at Lac La Biche. And no sight, out of sight. They've changed the regulations for it and everything, so they're very happy about it. Who is it? Imperial is very excited about it, that they're to utilize it. They're looking at it as not your Amazon, but critical medical infrastructure deliveries up to 100 kgs right now and everything. And basically, those blue lines are like they're a tunnel. They've got these skyways and set up, and they're hoping for traffic. Multiple drones flying in these things back and forth, deliver critical stuff. I mean, this doesn't look too bad when you're looking at it in blue. They showed us one where they blew it up. They stayed away from every farmhouse 500 meters. So it doesn't look bad when you're 50,000 miles. It looks fairly street, but yeah, every house they stayed away from. I wouldn't say every house, and they stopped. They're mapping 3 kilometers outside the area because it'll be up to the municipality to decide the route for the drones to get to the airports. There's in the article, there's also talking about, we'll say for Redwater to put in a, what do they call it, a vertical port? So we could have our own little drone vertical airport. If industry or hospital or something required it. They've been doing a lot of work over this. The Alberta Hub is quite happy with where it's going. The province of Alberta is very happy about it. Everybody's very excited about it, so they're looking at this, as I stated, as multiple drones in the air at the same time. They're projecting 200 to 500 employees because of pilots. They're looking at, because there's 2 institutions, learning institutions that are part of the hub. Drone mechanics. There's like, you can't go to NAIT for your 4-year apprenticeship right now for a drone mechanic. There's no such trade. But they're looking at, trying to get something like this on the go. Refueling, pick up drop-offs type things, and everything. They're hopefully everything goes good for them. I'd like to see it fly. So,
Literally.
sorry? Literally, yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Just natural.
When they were talking about this, what thing on Wednesday night, I thought, oh, okay, go and watch this drone. I guess the drone that's taking off out of Andrew, like a 6-foot wide wingspan or something. But then I got reading down and everything, and it was like, well, it's landing in Lac La Biche or St. Paul. I was like, that's no fun. Yeah, and then it disappears, It's like, I can't make it to St. Paul before it lands, so. But it's just the concept of it, right? That they're doing it out of sight, out of line of sight, and the province is behind it and everything else, so. That's a good thing. The second thing is this Indigenous-led Western Canada port to port. The important thing is the very last page with the map. The gentleman that is the CEO worked for, there's the federal government looking after Indigenous grants or something like that. For supposed to be a 2-year thing, he said it ended up being 11. So, but he's an I think engineer. I think is where he's got his degree in. But they've been talking. There's 108 First Nations within this Churchill to Prince Rupert port. Right now, they're looking at rail lines, and that's what these lines signify or rail. But they're going for the corridor. They want to get the 2 kilometer, 3 kilometer corridor, so they can put the pipelines in. They can put the rail lines in as needed, so they can put, everything. Because they're talking right now, like the hydrogen's a big thing to get over to Europe, and if they can get it out of Alberta, the green hydrogen or whatever, and get it into Churchill, get shipped overseas. Grain, like, they're not just looking at oil and gas, they're looking at everything. What Churchill, Prince Rupert, he was saying, is you got Prince Rupert and Kitimat that have Prince Rupert just got approved for the second LNG, and apparently there's 3 other ports, I was gonna call them docks, but 3 other ports in the area between Kitimat and Prince Rupert. The Indigenous groups can be looking at it, purchasing for LNG, hydrogen, whatever, right? And the same over the, what he did was, you see how the line goes from Gillam and turns north to Churchill? I can't remember the name of that little bay that's directly, I guess, northwest or northeast of Gillam there. Apparently, that's what they've been looking at as an LNG project area. They want to sort of keep Churchill as I'll say dry, and moved all the oil and gas and everything out of that area. This is in the, obviously, the infant stages. They're talking. They have quite a bit of interest and even MOUs with some of the 108 Indigenous groups along that route that are willing to do it. And they're willing to go out and borrow the money because they got access to billions.
And they can borrow it cheaper than the Alberta government can.
Yeah. And like, Some of this is already CN's property, or CN's lines, or CP lines. And they're, like, I asked them if they were gonna, you know, try to get CNCP or whatever, but they'll private line it. These small lines, rail lines and everything, so. Technically, we're already on the map with it, with CN lines going through town here.
Oil to Edmonton line.
Yeah. So they are gonna be looking probably down the road at maybe a letter of support. Right now, the province, they've already signed to something, MOU or something with the province. The minister's new, transportation's new, what do you call those, mandate letters? States that corridors is one of his priorities, right? So they're not calling it the northern corridor. He says northern, but he says it's more mid-northern. Because he said if we get north of all this stuff, we're into the Skag, and then you're talking billions, right? But they are quite excited about it. And obviously the hub's quite excited about it. And if it comes to, you know, letter of support or anything like that, the hub's still gonna continue working with them, and it may come down to, like I said, letters of support or something from along our lines. What else did we have? We were supposed to look into Grand Prairie pushing the government of Alberta to produce a uniform and fair distribution system payments. Apparently they got something in the books that we could possibly jump on. Electrical distribution. You should have thrown that in there. Maybe you might know what I'm talking about. Just because of the fact that our hydro is so expensive because of the distribution and everything. What was the other thing? The other biggest thing is the $1 per capita for our dues membership. And 2027 with the lack of 2027?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, 2027, the lack of funding from the provincial government. Where are we gonna stand as a hub? They're talking actually of, there's a sort of a quasi lobbying group that's part of Ignite or something. Basically the same people, but they're a different group, so they're registered as a lobbyist.
Oh, okay.
So they wanted to know, you know, like they're talking about having special meetings with regards to this in order to decide whether we're gonna stay as a hub idea or flip to the lobbyist or half and half, or, you know, so. Because apparently, from what we were told, the Highway 28 project came out of that lobbying group. I can't remember the acronym.
It must be the one that Coal Lake's spearing.
Yeah, the reassessment of
Yeah, but it's
28 for dual,
yeah, but it's the group itself with the municipalities involved. Remember,
So they've registered themselves as a lobbyist?
they're a lobbying group. And it was similar funding model as the hub.
I'll have to give Bob a call.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of
I'll
it.
give Bob a call.
Yeah. He kept throwing around the acronym, and there was nothing on paper about it, so. But yeah, and that's pretty well it. That's the biggest thing, is where we're gonna be in a couple of years with the hub.
Well, it's really not even a couple of years. It's
Well, 2027, yeah.
It's less than 18 months.
Yeah.
Like we're in, you know.
April 1st, 2027, they're no longer funded.
Yeah. So we're basically in the last 18 months of, you know.
Yeah. But the discussions around the table, they still want to keep the hub. Well, the funding is, that's the other, you know, or we have to go to $1.50 or $2 or, you know, per capita. And are we still, do we want to have that lobbying group, or sort of have a subsection of that Because without receiving the funding from the province, we can turn the hub into a lobbying group, technically, right?
Yeah, then you'd have to register.
Yeah. So, but if they're already registered, then just take a subset of that major group and continue on with it.
Definitely some interesting information coming out of the hub.
But Tim, oh, what's his last name? Vermillion? Gregorville? Yeah. He's like, he's been on it, I guess. He said, don't send me your mayor and your Reeves if they're not gonna do anything. I don't need seat fillers, you know?
I'm glad.
Yeah. That's it.
And you'd like to move your report for
I will.
information? Okay. Questions of Councillor Olson? Thank you for the information. I found your emails really informative. Like you said, the amount of information is great, so thank you. Call the question for acceptance. All in favor? And that's carried. 10.1. Councillor Cosby.
I'll make the motion, move to closed session.
Call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. And it'll take us a few minutes to adjust the electronic. run out of time.
We'll make it.
Call us,
I'll move that council return to open session, Your Worship.
thank you. Discussion? Call that question, all in favor? Motion's coming out of closed. Councillor Melnick.
I'll make a motion to proceed as directed and closed.
And that's related to 10.1.1. Okay, thank you. Discussion? You'll let us know how that works out, please. Okay. Call that question, all in favor? That's carried. Councillor Butcher. Call that question, all in favor?
Yes, that's a